is a silver bullet.
It is going to be informed by a conversation that enables those who are jobless, those who have no business, the hustling mamambogas and the hustling farmers, them too to be part of the equation economically, so that we can create prosperity that creates an equal society and creates equal opportunity.
Atasema mama mboga, mtu wa mkokoteni, mtu wa bodaboda ni takataka. Na tunawasamehea na tunawaombea Mwenyezi Mungu. Tujue ya kuwa huyo hustler ni Mkenya kama Mkenya mwingine yoyote.
Tafadhali uwe na nguvu na uwe na moyo. Unapokejeliwa, unaporushiwa matope, wanapokutusi, wewe ujue kweli unafanya kazi ya Mungu katika kazi hii ya kubeba watu wako na wheelbarrow, kuwatoa umaskinini uwalete kwenye maisha ya hadhi.
Wale wameshiba, wacha wakae pale juu, wacha watuite takataka wakiwa pale juu. Sisi tunaendea wenye ambao wako na njaa, kwa ajili hata Mungu mwenyewe majira yake ilifika ya kusema sasa ni wakati ya kukumbuka mtu maskini, mtu mwenye njaa, mtu mdogo mdogo pale chini.
Sisi agenda yetu tunasema ni agenda ya economic empowerment. Wale wapinzani wetu wako na agenda yao ya power sharing. Tunataka sisi tuambie economic empowerment yetu, model yetu ya bottom up, ya kusaidia wananchi wa chini kuenda juu. Wao watuambie agenda yao ya power sharing.
Indeed, that is what is happening in the political scene, and we'll be keeping tabs. Remember, also, it's not just about, the Deputy President William Ruto there. There's been talk around Oka and the leader there of ODM, that is former Premier Raila Odinga. And where does KANU stand in all this? At the same time, KANU has been quoted saying that one Kenya cannot ignore Raila in the 2022 game plan. And these are words of Gideon, that is Baringo Senator Gideon Moi. There will be giving you details as we continue sampling those stories that have been making headlines in the headlines in not too long. Now we cross over to something that has got another issue, matters of security. Now hundreds of motorcycle riders took to the streets Sunday protesting the murder of 4 young men in Kitengela on the 8th of August. The motorcycle riders, accompanied by the deceased family members, paralyzed operations on Mombasa Road towards Kitengela, demanding the criminals involved to be brought to book.
These are the scenes that characterized Mombasa Road as hundreds of motorcycle riders paralyzed operations during a protest on their way to Kitengela police station. Here, they blocked the entrance as they demanded audience with the station's bosses on the progress in nabbing those who killed 4 of their colleagues last week.
Hakuna kitu wanafanya, hakuna mtu amearrest, tumeenda ground nao mara 4 so far, hakuna kitu imefanyika.
The motorcycle riders were accompanied by family members of the 4 slain young men.
There's nothing he wouldn't do for people he loved. He went over and above. He made sure he nurtured all our talent. He pushed us to be the best people we could be. And the worst thing is being on this road even brings so much memories. Not I can say about him. He was not violent. He was so calm. I told him, angenyamaza na kwambia sawa. All friends know that. Kwela was not violent. He was so calm.
The 4 include 2 brothers, Victor Mwangi Wanjiru, 25 years old, and his brother Frederick Moreithi Wanjiru, who was 30 years old, as well as their 2 other friends, Mike George Onduso, who was 29 years old, and Nicholas Echengo Musa, who was 28 years old. They were reportedly murdered by villagers and their bodies badly mutilated, dumped near Munjiriri River in the evening of August the 8th. A senior DCI boss says investigations have zeroed in on 2 main suspects who are currently on the run. The riders and young men donned in dreadlocks have also condemned the profiling of persons with dreadlocks.
familia imeteseka sana, imekuja hapa mara 4 na wamesema hakuna mtu kuwa arrested, na tukasema ya kwamba tunaheshimu sheria. Sisi private bikers, sio kila mtu anaendesha pikipiki ambaye ni mwizi ambaye anafanya ukora.
The Private Riders Association chairman Sami Kiumbe says their members will be holding peaceful demonstrations until justice is served. For Sunday Express, I'm Serafina Robe.
Well, those are just the scenes and the scene of what was happening yesterday, being Sunday, that took Kitengela by storm there. This comes at a time when the mother of among two of the boys who were slain there in Kitengela jetted into the country at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and as video is going viral on social media of her breaking down. We just buried 2 brothers in Embu last week Friday, and now our family is going to be putting to rest this week a son, or rather 2 sons, 4 sons actually, who are also parents to their own children. And the question has been, when you talk about the future, the youth being the custodians of the future, will we have a youth to lead the future? Ponder on that. Now we cross over to matters of climate change and environmental conservation. Now, to bring life to the wood industry in the country after the moratorium on logging 4 years ago, the Kenya Forest Service is in the process of setting up systems that will rid the felling of trees from wanton corruption. And as John Jacob Curry reports in the final part of the 2-part series, The Pain of Nobility, the KFS has, however, the task of eliminating rogue elements from within their ranks who have been colluding with unscrupulous sawmillers to deny the government revenue from the trees in government forests.
Chief Conservator of Forests Julius Kamau now says procurement for the 5,000 hectares of mature trees allowed in the partial lift of the moratorium has begun and the industry could stabilize soon.
The disposal process for the 5,000 has already started. In any case, already we went to the public notice. We invited bidders, not bidders, but people who have interest to do business with the Kenya Forest Service with regards to roundwood, poles, firewood, and other forest products. And we gave them about 30 days to register on that platform, and most of them have registered. And of course, section of the forest industry went to court to object the registration. But hopefully that matter was put on rest yesterday, basically. And therefore, we are happy to engage.
According to Kamau, most sawmillers have failed to supplement government efforts at conservation, which would bridge the wood deficit in the country, which stands at 10 million cubic meters today.
It should not be perceived as if we are working in a different direction. In any case, the commercial forest plantations are developed and their working cycles are set to support the industry. Remember, we have the Big Four agenda, the housing and manufacturing. So we appreciate that. And that's why we are trying to create a good foundation that when we start doing business with them, it is sustainable. For them, they feel safe. They can even go for loan, knowing that I can still be able to access the material tomorrow. That's a plus.
Timber industry does not implement a policy. We don't have that mandate. The person who implements the mandate on behalf, who implements the policy on behalf of Kenyans is the Kenya Forest Service, because it is the body which was established by an act of parliament.
The Kenya Forest Service, in the meantime, is installing systems intended to rid the tree harvesting exercise of any corruption.
Kenya Forest Service has developed what we are calling an e-registration platform, because we want to go digital. We want to use platforms which do not necessarily have to have a high interaction of our human resource. And that is something that we have done. It was done by entire internal capacity by the Kenya Forest Service. And therefore today we have an e-registration platform on our website that is basically to register all the forest industry players within the industry.
But seeing that trees are a renewable resource and the number of mature trees continues to rise, what is KFS doing to trigger success stories from the tree harvesting in coming years?
We had a backlog of about 30,000 hectares of the plantations that were cut, felled, but not replanted. And therefore, one of the things that we have been able to do, it is to synergize our resources, working together with the projects that we have to be able to replant and restock these areas. And so far, we have been able to move from the 30,000 hectares backlog to now 14,000. And we continue. And we believe in the next one financial year, we should be able to clear off the backlog, meaning we should be able to harvest and at the same time immediately plant for sustainability, both for the predictable revenue for the government, but also for the forest industry.
After government imposed a ban on logging 4 years ago, and even after the lifting of that ban, albeit partially, there's no respite for sawmillers in the country. Much of what we've seen is back and forth between government and sawmillers. But one thing is clear, that the government needs to escalate the conservation measures, because nobody can underestimate the importance of a beautiful ecosystem. But secondly, the government also needs to find a sustainable solution to keep sawmillers in business. John Jacob Curia, Channel 1.
In case you missed the full series in regard to what is being done in that matter by the KFS and regarding sawmilling and logging with that particular, lifting, or rather bit partially there, you can get it on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Now, crossing over to the political scene is that a section of leaders from Mount Kenya region have alleged that there is an elaborate plan to peddle the region's vote for selfish political ends. The leaders now want residents to treat with contempt this week, unveiling plans of a Mount Kenya caucus that will chart the region's political future ahead of the 2022 elections.
Days after NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua, Mwangi Kiunjuri and Moses Kuria invited like-minded parties to join them in charting a political course for the Mount Kenya region, a section of area leaders has dismissed the calls.
Sisi tumeungana chini ya Mheshimiwa William Samoei Arap Ruto. Hapo ndipo tumeungana. Na hii maungano ingine inafanywa, hiyo ni story inafanywa.
On Thursday, Kiunjuri and the two leaders said they will reach out to all political parties with a presence in the region to work on a new political arrangement.
This caucus invites all like-minded leaders, political parties from Mount Kenya region. That includes, we recognize that UDA is a political party represented in Mount Kenya region. So we are also going to invite them to this forum.
The leaders, who are allied to the deputy president, have relentlessly spread his political gospel and the bottom-up approach in the Mount Kenya region.
We also need to be able to elect leaders who are able to help the society prosper. We need to be able to identify leaders who can advocate for the voiceless.
Ni muhimu ya kwamba wakati wa kupiga kura ukifika, lazima uende upige kura kwa yule mtu ambaye unapenda na yule mtu ambaye humpendi. Pia upige kwa kura kwa yule mwenzako ambaye unajua ndiye mwema. Lakini kukaa nyumbani bila kupiga kura, hiyo ni kuweka serikali ya dhuluma, serikali mbaya katika uongozi.
The political atmosphere in the Mount Kenya region appears to be more intense than ever, with leaders seemingly keen on political correctness ahead of the 2022 general elections.
Anasikia serikali mpya inanukia, serikali mpya inanukia, lakini amezoea kusema serikali inatengenezewa kwake nyumbani. Na inaonekana hii wale wanatengeneza serikali ile inakuja, wamepindua mtindo, haitatengenezwa kwake nyumbani, ni pahali ingine. Kwa hivyo kama hiyo ndio shida yake, asilete hiyo shida kwa ODM.
Meanwhile, a cleric has joined the 2022 presidential race. Bishop Zablon Karanja Mbugwa of the United Pentecostal Church International says he intends to reach out to all Kenyans to support his bid.
Our nation is at a divining moment when we are at war against economic downtrend and a broken aspiration. My government, once erected, will work towards a new dawn with clear working policies out on
gainful means of livelihood for all.
Bishop Karanja believes he is an alternative candidate from the pack of politicians who have lined up to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Well, we'll be keeping tabs on matters politics. Remember, we're just but a few days shy, into a year ahead of the next general elections. Matters security, 5 men have yesterday narrowly escaped the wrath of angry mob in Kitengela after they were accused of attempted kidnapping. Now, the men were waylaid by border operators after screams of help were heard emanating from the vehicle they were traveling in. The police arrived just in the nick of time to save them from lynching.
Unfolded when the victim lowered a window of the vehicle and raised an alarm calling for help from other motorists and motorcycle riders. Boda riders responded promptly and managed to block the vehicle, which was heading towards Isinya along the Namanga Road. A traffic snarl-up worked to the advantage of the riders. The victim had been sandwiched between 3 men seated in the back. According to the victim, identified as Charles, the suspects had picked him up at Mlolongo posing as police officers. He claimed he had been hoodwinked from a club only to be forced into the car before the driver sped off to Mombasa Road.
Na kitu ya kwanza tukisema hapa Kitengela kumekuwa kubaya. Kama ni ukweli hao jamaa wamekidnapiwa, inafaa askala mwenyewe aendeshe gari.
Wajamaa wanasema huyu jamaa hatujamhijabu ni mwandawazimu. Sasa kuona hivyo tukaitana wajamaa na.
In their defense, however, the men claimed to be health workers and were taking the victim to a rehabilitation center. The charging crowd dismissed their story, and just before they were lynched, police arrived. The men were whisked away, but not before some jabs and slaps from the irate mob.
How about that for being your brother's or your sister's keeper there? Remember, those residents have called upon the security operators to improve security in the area. Remember, over the last few months or so, Kitengela has been making the headlines for the wrong reasons, especially in regard to matters security. So if indeed that man was rescued, he needs to thank his lucky stars. Now we cross over to matters international, where the government of Kenya and India continues to enjoy bilateral ties that have been boosted amid the COVID-19 pandemic, thanks to joint efforts by the two governments in battling the viral disease effects. Now, speaking during the celebrations to mark India's 75th Independence Day, the High Commission Deputy High Commissioner Mr. Ashish Sinsha expressed India's commitment to President Kenyatta's Big Four development agenda and quality service provision.
India's acting High Commissioner Ashish Sinha presided over a small ceremony as his residence to celebrate the country's 75th Independence Day. Invited guests were treated to Indian cultural songs and dance. The acting High Commissioner appreciated the bilateral ties that Kenya and India continue to enjoy, adding that India supports Kenya's Big Four development agenda.
We have assisted in upgradation of Rivatex factory in Eldoret, creating 2,000 direct and 1,000 of indirect jobs. Capacity building through offering various courses on scholarship under ICCR and ITech scholarships has been redesigned to deal with the pandemic challenges, and several online and e-ITech courses were offered, including a special e-ITech course organized for the officers from the Kenya Postal Department.
Sinha said besides the COVID-19 vaccine donation by India to Kenya, several Indians have reached corners of the country as frontline workers in a bid to find tangible solutions to mitigate the effects of the virus.
All this while, during the pandemic, this mission never scaled down its activities, and in fact, we became even more available and have been channeling our efforts toward finding creative solutions. Even our community diaspora members rose to the occasion, and they reached out to nook and corner of this country to provide essential food items and essential medicines, masks, and PPE kits.
The celebration was held in strict adherence to the Ministry of Health guidelines. Yusufar reporting for the Legends edition.
On that note, we take a short break. We'll be right back.
Princess Chen, I know you are a good doctor, but can you do better than your father? Perhaps your father purposely didn't cure him and only wasted time.
Your Highness, I'm Thunder, an Imperial spy. We're here to kill Prince Chen, as His Majesty ordered. Everybody stay alert. There are traps everywhere in here. Be careful.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Your daddy died, sweetie.
No, my daddy's not dead, Mommy. Please tell me he isn't dead.
Sweetheart, believe me, I wish it wasn't true. I wish it weren't, but...
Don't exert too much effort.
Manuel.
Just relax, sir, please.
Manuel.
I'm going to call him. But you have to stay calm, sir.
Manuel.
You're still quite weak, Mr.
Yes,
Manuel.
Oh, may the heavens help me. Please help me find proof of Max's innocence. I'm begging you. Because I love him so much.
I have to find Florencia. No one was around when I killed Horacio, but I can't risk being uncovered and going to prison.
Una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Good morning. You're watching in the headlines at KBC Channel 1. Now we start off with those stories that are still making headlines, where armed bandits attacked and wounded 4 security officers attached to the Laikipia Nature Conservancy. One of the officers was shot in the cheek near his left eye. 2 were injured on the leg, while the 4th sustained chest injuries.
Are recuperating at the Sipili nursing home, while one was referred to another hospital for specialized treatment. Bernard Kinywa, a clinical officer at the health facility, said the officers were responding well to treatment and could be discharged soon.
And the other one was wounded at the hand. So this one had a fracture, which was referred for further management. The rest were cleaned, sutured, and they are responding well. Yeah, very soon, maybe in 3 days' time, all of them will be okay.
2 weeks ago, another GSU officer was shot and killed by suspected bandits within the same ranch. Efforts to get a comment from the senior security agencies in Laikipia County were futile. The latest incident comes just days after the Interior Cabinet Secretary warned that the government will double down on criminals in the region. Nancy Okware, Sunday Express.
Now to the counties, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has urged Parliament not to pass laws designed to undermine professionalism in the country. The institution says state appointments should be guided by merit and not partisan interests. This and other stories from the County News Roundup.
The president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has raised a red flag over a push by a section of lawmakers to scrap some specific qualifications required for various appointments in government.
This trend of eroding professionals from top positions because you want to open it to every person is not good for this country. Today we are talking about engineers. Tomorrow we are going to talk about those other professionals that I've just mentioned to you.
Meanwhile, Baringo residents have been urged to present themselves for vaccination against COVID-19 as cases in the county continue to rise.
Leo tunasindikiza watu karibu zaidi ya 6 katika hii sub-county ya Baringo North. Na waomba tuwaendelee kuzingatia ile maadili ya Wizara ya Afya. Kuosha mkono, kufunga hii masks na pia kutengana hasa katika mitano kubwa.
Elsewhere, a section of leaders from Bungoma County are calling on the Director of Criminal Investigation to hasten investigations into the killing of journalist Peter Ochieng. The journalist was found brutally murdered last week.
Sasa yangu yote ambayo nilifanya kabla nichaguliwe na vile nimechaguliwa. Hakuna mtu ambaye anajua siri zangu kuliko Storm. Sijawahi sikia hiyo siri ikisema popote.
In Kericho County, residents of Kenegut location are accusing the police and area chief of laxity in eradicating illicit brew in the area. A 30-year-old man died at a trading center after consuming the brew.
Tulipoteza kijana hapa ajili ya pombe haramu. Sasa tuko na huzuni sana kwa kupoteza hiyo kijana. Nafikiri kama serikali inaweza saidia sisi, tunaomba serikali asaidia sisi kuondoa hii pombe haramu.
Elsewhere, Kenya's strategic position in the East African region makes it an ideal destination for investment. Kaiser Kenya CEO Omraj Sankar and partner Nikita Loginov lauded Kenya's position as the gateway to the region.
We saw Kenya as an amazing hub for us to be in East Africa. This is a huge market for us to hire up to 100 people when we expand and become quite big in Kenya. So that's quite a lot of families, that are going to feel the benefits.
And the qualities matters for everyone, not only Kenyans. And we come with German premium appliances and the kitchens.
Finally, a proprietor of a building complex in Kisii town has been arrested for trespassing. The man had been barred from accessing the property whose ownership is being contested by a bank.
The offense that they are charged with is creating disturbance and malicious damage to property, which was a chain that was put at the locks to lock the premises in contempt of a court order issued on 7th of July that was so clear that nothing should happen on the premises at all.
Now over to Matters Sports. Handicap 12 for David Kiru was crowned overall winner of the 11th NCBA Golf Series that was held at the Parklands 73 Nakuru Golf Club. Now he carded an excellent round of 41 points, one ahead of the nearest challenger. The event drew participation of 109 golfers, taking place just before the series turns its focus on the first 2 junior clinics and tournaments in the calendar.
Kiru becomes the 11th winner of the series, booking himself a spot to play at the series grand finale, which will be held in December this year at the current country club. Close on his heels was handicap 28 Kulvesh Singh, who posted 40 points after the round to claim the winner's spot in the men's category, ahead of Sajil Shah, handicap 24, who took the runner-up spot in the category with 38 points. In the ladies category, handicap 26 Suzanne Koi emerged the winner, having finished the round with an impressive round of 40 points, with handicap 34 Andwati posting 38 points to claim the runner-up spot.
We want to become closer to you, and that's why we've been doing this a little differently by coming to the clubs, and thank you for the support. I've met a lot of clients, I've gotten a lot of feedback, na tutawafanyia kazi.
I want to thank you and Greenkeeper for keeping our cause good, and my fellow players to play today well, and our NCBA sponsoring today, and my sponsor, Mr. Harry Graham, for sponsoring me today.
In the juniors category, handicap 18 Charles Kamais carded a round of 38 points to emerge the winner, while Rehab Duo at handicap 33 carded an excellent round of 40 points. Among the guests, handicap 31 Elidu Ongeshi was crowned the winner with 35 points. Over 1,016 golfers have so far taken part in the series across the 11 participating clubs.
I want to appreciate NCBS so much for the sponsorship. You agree with me, especially over this period again, over COVID issue areas. We have had a few sponsors, but you can see the magnitude and the kind of sponsorship that you had today.
Registration ongoing, it's on our website. So if you've got a junior, please get them to register. We've got 2 days of fantastic golf at Karen. Later on in the year, there'll be another leg in Muthaiga. The future of golf is not us. It is those juniors that will keep the fire burning.
Now, still keeping up with matters sports, the cricket stakeholders in the country continue with efforts to uplift the level of the game, which undoubtedly has dipped due to administrative challenges. With East Africa Character Development Trust, founded by cricket enthusiast David Waters, the latest to join the fray by developing school cricket among other underprivileged children, especially in the slums. The trust sources for donations are from cricket clubs and teams in England who donate equipment and sends coaches to the already existing centres, which are in Kawangware, Umoja, and where they have put up simple cricket facilities in an effort in popularizing the game. The trust on Sunday visited Tatu City Primary School, where they opened a facility that will be used by the schools within Kiambu County.
So I believe your presence here today will go towards the future of these children.
Well, quite an initiative there. Majority of us, even grown-ups, leave alone the children, do not know how the golf game is played. So it will be good to enculturate the young at an early stage so that they can understand the game. Now, matter sports. Petrolheads, especially the 5th round of the KCB Kenya National Autocross Championship, got off with a flying start at the Mombasa Cement Racetrack in Vipinga, with 38 drivers enlisted for the race action. Defending Open champion Kirk Rajput dropped out of the event after his Subaru GC8 caught fire in the early morning practice loop.
Competitors in the four-wheel drive turbo class are KNRC Premier Class driver Eric Bengi, leader Lovjiet Singh, and defending champion Sahib Omar. The two-wheel drive turbo class, which is a preserve for buggies, has the likes of Shaz Emal and champion Azad Manji. The two-wheel drive buggy leader and champion Zamir Raji is going for his 5th win of the season in a rage contraption. Two-wheel drive non-turbo car has leader Rajveer Tethi and Sam Karangatha fighting for championship points. This year's Autocross Championship, now at halfway stage in Kilifi County, has been to the waterfront Karen, Kasarani, Eldoret and Jamhuri Park, Nairobi.
It's really hot, really nice, exciting. I'm wondering how this thing's gonna do on the track, how the car's gonna do.
I have done 2-3 events before, and this is the first time I've done Mombasa track, and I'm very excited for it. Yeah, hopefully it will be a good event. I'm planning to finish clean, not have any major damages to the car, everything okay with the car, and finish with a good time as well.
Well, indeed, further details regarding to our news are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. We take a short break. When we return, we're going to be focusing on more stories and giving you details of the stories that have been captured by various dailies. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
All right, from Regina there, let's now take a look at some of the stories that's been making headlines on our local dailies. And with me, I have the Star newspaper here. And on the front page of the Star, Raila dilemma over choice of running mate. Raila dilemma of choice of running mate. Allies are keen that he picks a deputy from the Mount Kenya region. Now, ODM leader must factor in candidates' clout and support base. That is what's making on the front page of the Star here. And still on that, mother of slain Kitengela brothers arrive from the UK. Excuse me. Remember the two brothers who were killed in Kitengela for allegedly being mistaken for being cattle rustlers or thieves for that matter, arrived on Saturday from the UK, where she went to look for greener pastures. That is also on the front page of the Star. Now, city couple seeking help to raise 6 million shillings for the hospital bill. Now, Brian Maua's wife, Winnie, became pregnant at the start of the year. The great news was even sweeter when the parents of the two discovered that they were expecting twins, but the joy and expectation turned into disappointment after their hospital bill shot up to 6 million shillings. You can take a look on that story. And still on that, in politics, Kitui, that is Mohesa Kitui, says that I have solutions to Kenya's graft problem. Okay. Should he be elected come 2022? Still on, let's talk about some matters health now. Kenyans to wait longer for Pfizer vaccine from the US. Kenyans may have to wait longer for the 1.7 million doses of Pfizer vaccine expected from the US government. Now, it has been revealed that the earliest the doses can arrive in the country is in September. The US government had earlier said that the distribution would start this August. So there is that, but information from the health ministry shows that 15 ultra cold chain freezers from the US are expected to arrive in the country earliest next week. The freezers come before the vaccine. So that is something to look out for. And that's also, you can also, perhaps we can just delve into this one, Jane and Regina. Most Kenyans, over the past week or so, we've seen an upsurge of people taking this particular vaccine. Perhaps, Regina, you go to the field quite a lot. What would be your contribution to that?
Well, if I can answer that question in two parts.
Yes.
There is also antipathy, especially among the youth, and the reasons that they have cited that they are skeptic about taking this particular job. And I'd want to read one who has been quoted in one of the dailies, who is asking, the youth are not, or rather saying, the youth are not avoiding the job. Just how will I take the job, yet my grandmother in the village has not been vaccinated? This is according to John Cargo W. So they're asking the questions, they're looking at who deserves it more. Is it I who is young and healthy, or is it my grandmother or my grandfather or even my parent who is already, you know, in the red zone as far as the demographic is concerned? So there is that issue. Then there was what we highlighted last week, is that because of the hard economic times, a majority cannot get to where these centers are offering this particular job. And there's also the issue of misinformation or lack of information. So when you go to this particular facility, is the job free? Yeah, or do you have to cough some money? Then there's also people who are taking advantage of this exercise by selling their slots. For instance, let's give an example. There's a vaccination exercise underway at Mbagathi Hospital.
Right.
One will wake up at around 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to be on the queue. When the doors open at 8, 9 a.m. and there's that desperate person who really needs that particular jab, and they sell that slot. Like, madam or sai, unataka nikupe nafasi yangu. That's how they're making their money. You know, you pay, you cough 1,000 or 100 or 1,000 shillings, and you get that slot because one way or another you did not make it in time, but there was someone who's purposed to find out where this vaccination exercise is taking place and queue and sell their slots. So there's so many issues. But what I would want to point out is that, first of all, there's lack of information in regard, is this going to be free in this facility? Where can I get it? Am I entitled to it? Or are they prioritizing those who have already been termed as frontline workers? Is it open for all? So that misinformation and lack of information is also working against this particular campaign. So I think the government needs to intensify its campaign and sensitization. You know, sensitization that these jobs are available. Yes, in these hospitals, they are free. This is what you need to know. This is what you do. This is what you're required to do, so that everybody can be on the same page. Yes,
absolutely.
Now, let me tie a particular piece here on the Daily Nation to that particular story, because it looks at the fact that in Western Kenya, myths, disinformation, traditional and religious beliefs have hindered this vaccination process. Now, ignorance is among the leading causes of the refusal for many people to get vaccinated. Other areas they have cited access to some of these facilities being the problem, with a county like Mandera actually having been used an example. Residents in Mandera have to travel for 2 days just to go to the hospital to get this vaccine, and that is one way. So 2 days to go, 2 days to come back. They have also gone ahead to cite traditional and religious beliefs to be another reason that is derailing the uptake of COVID-19 in some of these counties. And when it comes to religious beliefs, there's some, as per this particular article, they have highlighted some top leaders of the Seventh-day Adventist and Legio Maria. They have not declared their stand on the vaccine, therefore leaving their congregants with a lot of suspicion about this vaccine. But a section of SDA faithfuls believe that this particular jab is a manifestation of the end times. Okay? And there's also adherents of the Legio Maria Church who are strictly opposed to the vaccination based on their faith that all ailments are curable through faith and prayer. Now, those are just some of the reasons that have been highlighted here. And then again, the Ministry of Health did put out a report last week that indicated some counties in the northern region have only vaccinated 0.3% of their population. And as of yesterday, only 2 in every Kenyans have been fully vaccinated, and there's still that 1 million, about 2 million who have received the first dose, but only 721,000 have turned up for the second dose, and most of these people are in Nairobi. And still looking at that population, men are leading with 55%.
I think it's given because men tend to get out there and get exposed more often and more, mostly more than they were female or more than women. So that's why it's given. The whole factor is people should go for the vaccination. There is no way about it. Science and other, traditions and culture can be debated, but the fact is the vaccine is there and it's for free. It's for free. So I think people should just go and get vaccinated. There's a lot of hullabaloo about it, but guys, it won't help. It won't help. All right. So what do you have, Jen?
Let me just run you through the front page of the Daily Nation before we get to some of these details. The two stories here on the header. Number one, Ruto tears into Uhuru's 2022 succession plan, game plan for that matter. And this particular piece here has actually captioned it, Ruto to Kenyatta, bring it on. I'll be giving you those details in a bit. But then the other story that has been featured here on the head of the Daily Nation is in regards to what is happening in Afghanistan, with the Afghan president having fled the country as the Taliban take over the capital. We'll be getting those details in a bit. And then again, a story that has had so many people express so many thoughts and feelings. The end to a whirlwind romance. First couple breaks up. That is the story of Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua and his wife Lilian Nganga, who announced the end of their relationship on their various social media platforms yesterday. Coming to the main read here is in regards to the puzzle of cheap fuel in Nakuru. And let me just take you through this particular piece. It has been covered here on page 7. Now, what many people are concerned about when it comes to this story is the fact that looking at the fuel pricing formula, it is expected to get more expensive the farther you move away from Mombasa County.
And why did it get cheaper in Nakuru?
But that's the question. It is cheaper in not only Nakuru, let me just, in Nakuru, Naivasha, Gilgil, Nyahururu, and Londiani than it is in Nairobi.
That
and mind you, looking at Nakuru, it is 170 kilometers from Nairobi. So getting to the details is that in Nakuru, fuel is going for, let me get this figure. Let's start with Nairobi. This month, after the review, the petrol will be going for 127 shillings and 14 cents per litre.
That is in Nairobi?
Yes. Right. Diesel is going for 107 shillings and 66 cents, while kerosene is going for 97 shillings and 85 cents. In Nakuru, petrol is going for 126 shillings and 75 cents. Diesel is going for 107 shillings and 55 cents, while kerosene is going for 97 shillings and 76 cents per litre. Mombasa, of course, remains to be the residents who enjoy the cheapest fuel costs, with petrol retailing at 124, diesel at 105, and kerosene at 95 shillings and 46 cents. Now, experts have come out to criticize and they want an explanation to this. How come Nakuru has cheaper fuel than Nairobi? And mostly counties that are to the west of Nairobi, which is farther away from Mombasa. And that is why so many people have had so much to say about this. And of course, you know, that difference in less than a shilling, but it counts for a lot.
It matters a lot.
It counts for a lot.
I think EPRA could be in a very good position to explain that, why the disparity in terms of the pricing. Because Nakuru County does not produce oil. All our oil products come from Mombasa. Probably Regina could chip in on that, where you're giving us the headlines, what's making on the headlines, and perhaps just to rope in on that, Regina?
Well, remember, let me just give it holistically, Victor, here. When it comes to the 14th of every month, if we look at the trends between January to date, the cost of fuel has been going up on an upward trajectory. And this is not just for Kenya's case. Remember, we use what we refer to as Mobane. And Mobane is, brought into the country months prior, actually 3 months over the seas, over the high seas. So that's also another factor that we need to put in when we talk about the cost of fuel. That question about why it is cheaper to buy, or rather, yes, to buy fuel in Nakuru other than Nairobi and Mombasa, that's a question that I think EPRA needs to, put out there in detail, because I don't know why, because it's supposed to be cheapest in Mombasa to purchase this particular commodity, and most expensive in far-flung areas like Mandera and Garissa because of the transportation aspect. Cost. But also look at Nakuru and where it is situated. Remember, as Nakuru County, it's like a transit county. Everything goes through Nakuru, Uganda and such. And remember, also in our neighboring country, which is Uganda, fuel is still very cheap in Uganda. So this is a question I think EPRA needs to answer in detail. Well, but we've been watching what is happening with the OPEC Plus, and they're saying they want to increase production because with the issue of the global vaccination, it means that now travel has gone back to where it was supposed to go, but slowly. So they want to increase production. So that anomaly and correlation I'm yet to get, Victor. So once we get the details, we'll be sure to share it.
Okay. Take us on a break then? Okay, let's take a break. That you give it back to me. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting and colorful bouquet.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Your daddy died, sweetie.
No, my daddy is not dead, Mommy. Please tell me he isn't dead.
Sweetheart, believe me, I wish it wasn't true. I wish it weren't, but...
Don't exert too much effort. Manuel. Just relax, sir, please. Manuel. I'm going to call him. But you have to stay calm, sir. Manuel. You're still quite weak, Mr. Yes, Manuel.
Oh, may the heavens help me. Please help me find proof of Max's innocence. I'm begging you. Because I love him so much.
I have to find Florentia. No one was around when I killed Horacio, but I can't risk being uncovered and going to prison.
Una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Timbi na Timbelio.
Mambo vipi watu wangu? Mama, karibu sana, karibu tena. Kachiri kajulikana kama Bildad kama kawaida. Okay. G-Clef inamaanisha music kabisa. Au sio? Risan Romeo. Wewe ndio mshikaji pale peke yako ama kuna baadhi ya wasanii wengine ndugu yangu?
Mimi nafanya kazi hapo kama msanii pekee.
Pamoja tunafikisha nambari.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still with us. In case you are just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle. Our individual handles are at Victor Olo, at Ray Manyara, and at Jade Womboy. Do interact with us. Let us know where you are watching us from. Now, let's get to this particular story concerning Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua and his now estranged wife. But according to this particular daily, Machakos first couple parts ways but promises to stay close. Now, Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua and his wife Lilian Nganga have announced the end of their marriage, bringing to a close a relationship that saw the county boss divorce his first wife, Josephine Thitu. Now, they go ahead to give a brief background of how they got together, but as of yesterday, Miss Nganga did put out the announcement on her social media pages ending, stating the end of her marriage to Dr. Alfred Mutua, and they've briefly captioned what she had to say, saying, "The winds of change blew my way, and 2 months ago, I decided to end my long-term relationship with Dr. Alfred Mutua." Later on, we did see Dr. Alfred Mutua also put out a statement just to corroborate what Lillian had to say, saying that I thank God for bringing Lillian into my life and the many ways we have made each other grow. We have laughed and at times a tear or two, but all in all, we have been a power couple and very happy. So many people have had so much to say about this particular story, being concerned as to how they were involved in so many county projects together. Then there was the Lillian Nganga Foundation, which did amazing projects for so many ladies in Machakos County. And people are wondering how they will be working moving forward. But Dr. Mutua was very particular in stating that they are still friends and they will be working together, in as much as Lillian did officially declare that she is no longer the First Lady of Machakos County, when she said, "With this, I put down the Machakos First Lady cap, and what an honor it has been to be of service."
Yeah, I think it was quite important because being the First Lady of that particular county, it was proper to just put it out there so that the relationship is known, because you are the First Lady of a particular county and you are a public figure for that matter. And at what particular point, in many occasions, I am so sure Lillian represented Governor Mutua in occasions, some functions. So it's quite in order to put it out there because they are public figures and therefore there's nothing to be kept secret. And I think it was quite mature to just let the nation to know the status of the relationship. So I think that's the best way that it was resolved.
Because there was a lot of speculation on social media, given they haven't been seen in public together or posting pictures of each other for that matter. So I think this was also, I agree with you, considering the positions they hold.
If I can butt in, I think they were trying to get ahead of the bloggers. This was a PR move that if you're breaking the news, let it be from you so that you can control the narrative. And I think for a person who's been in the PR industry, and that is Governor Alfred Mutua, hapo alicheza kama yeye. You'd rather be the one controlling the narrative. And you two people are speaking from the same page. You can imagine if Lillian now came out and said something totally different and Alfred was saying something else. We would have a field day on social media as well, and his mainstream media. Remember, he's already declared his intent to run for the office, the highest office come 2022. And there's been a lot of talk. So then what happens to his political ambitions there? Remember, in as much as Wanjiku, or rather the voter, looks, enlightened and such, they are unspoken profiles that we require from our leaders. And one of them is that, and this was actually said on social media, how true it is, well, we can all look at the people who've held this office. One of it is that you have to have a stable family and a pot belly. Yes, that's what so what happened?
The pot belly?
Yes.
I'm not too sure about.
No, we said looking at our leaders. Pale mashinani, you're
the trend?
Tuonyeshe, yes, the trend. Tuonyeshe bibi na watoto. Na kama umekula vizuri,
if you can take care of yourself and your family.
Those connotations, definitely they're stereotypes and such. But someone was just trying to bring in the humor then. So what happens to his presidential bid in regard to this matter? Is it going to be dented? And I think that's why they also came out to say that they're going to continue working
together,
as friends, because as you rightfully put, we have seen what the Lillian Foundation has been doing over the years, and that is something. So much is happening on social media. So if you haven't gotten wind of this story, kindly get online, especially on Twitter. There's a suspect around there. There's a lot of speculation, but as a national broadcaster, we're not there to give you, speculation. The speculation. But the fact
Regina,
is, the two have split.
One good lesson that you can learn from that. The way the whole situation was handled.
Yeah.
But one thing, again, Kenyans should know is to respect each other's space.
True.
There is no way you can never get into Governor Mutua's life, can never get into Lillian's life. People should just mind their own business. We have got several issues as a nation that we should be dealing with.
Vic, be that as it may, as long as you're a public figure, privacy becomes questionable. And people will always have something to say, or rather feel entitled to an opinion in whatever you engage in, personal or public. People don't really know where to put that line, that boundary of this is personal, I want to deal with this on a very personal level because of this and this and this a reason. But by virtue of being in a certain office or holding a certain capacity, it is not always possible to just deal with some of these issues privately, because it was the same thing with Bill and Melinda. Yes,
they also put it out there publicly.
They put it out there because in as much as it is very personal for them, they owe it to the people who look up to them or who have been engaged with them in one space or the other to make sure that they know, in as much as we are not together, we still can work together.
My point is, people should not ridicule. In my mother tongue, we say it's when there is a funeral at the neighbors, it's sweeter there. Wait until it gets home. That's when you know where it pinches. You realize how much it pinches. So people should, you can go ahead and ridicule this and that, wait until it gets closer home, because there is nothing new under the sun.
True. I agree.
I
agree with you, Victor. And also, I think they have also set a very good precedent. Because if you look at over the years, stories that have been made headlines, especially of people who are in that particular public domain and high ranking. We've had the Mythical Linturi debacle there with the divorce and the horrid, gory details that came out in the court. But these two have decided to part ways amicably at a time when we're seeing gender-based violence in regard to that matter. Taking away people's lives and destroying even the children and the families. But they have made it so, I hope a majority of us can learn something, that you can part ways amicably.
And it doesn't always have to be a smearing campaign after
No, don't bring me down. Don't bring me down, because I'll not bring you down. At the end of the day, that was the best decision we could make at that time. And it has come that we need to part ways. Let us part ways with dignity, and respect. And I applaud them for that.
All right. Back to you, Regina.
Great. Oh, yes. Now, talking about for a moment. Now, I have a copy of the Standard with me, and it's just a replica of what you have on the other end. Jane and Victor, matters of politics, what is happening, what is shaping up. And the headline here goes, "Eye on hardliners." And the kicker goes, "Uhuru succession." Now, they are crucial players in any political negotiations, but at times come out as extremists and selfish individuals out to market their leaders while upping their own political stake. Let me just give you a nutshell of who have been captured on the front page of the Standard this morning in regard to political hardliners who are not only pushing their master's agenda, but they're also raising their stakes as political, bigwigs. Now we have Junet Mohammed, who is currently the Suna East MP. We have Susan Keheka, Nakuru Senator. We have Mutula Kilonzo Jr., that is Makueni Senator. We have Enoch Wambua, Kitui Senator. We have Samson Cheragay, Nandi Senator. We have Gladys Wanga, who is Homa Bay Woman Rep. Alice Wahome of Kandara. Cleophas Malala, Kakamega Senator. Edwin Sifuna, ODM Secretary General. And Ayub Savula, ANC Deputy Party Leader. At one point or another, over the last few months, if not years, we've heard from these particular people who've been mentioned in this front page, pushing the agenda of their masters. But at the end of the day, they have come out to be, you know, seen as political bigwigs, where in as much as they are pushing the agenda of their masters there, now they are forces to reckon with. And as we're seeing alliances forming and others breaking up, you are keen. Kindly watch these people keenly, what moves they make, to whom and to what end. As we say, whoever is getting into a bandwagon with someone else, they are in there for something. And we might just see what it really means in the run-up to the elections come 2022. That's what I have on the front page of the Standard this morning, including matters that are making headlines across the world. Now we have an earthquake that hit again Haiti there, leaving 301 persons dead. And I say Africa is actually blessed because we have been cushioned from these climatic calamities there. So 301 persons dead after that particular quake. If you can allow me, Jane, and Victor, to just now shift from matters politics and what has been making headlines. Now let's talk about health and science. And this is an article that has been fully documented here in this particular daily and has touched a chord. When ancestors cause untraceable illnesses. At one point or another, we have had cases that they went to hospital, the medics tried to do a diagnosis, there was none, but this person was gravely ill, and unfortunately, at times, the persons in question succumb. Now, this particular issue here has brought together experts, medics, doctors, as well as researchers, and it reveals that sometimes doctors find themselves helpless when medical conditions are related to skipping cultural rights, ignoring traditions. This is Africa, and Africa is our business. Let me borrow that from the political scene there, where we had this is Africa, and Africa is our business. But now we're talking about health and science. Our medics have come out to say at times their hands are tied, so to speak, because what they learnt in medical school is not what they're dealing with when it comes to the doctor's consultation room. Why? Because this particular sickness may have been caused by skipping some cultural rites. And areas, Victor, these are your areas. Areas that have been notorious with this. We have Siaya County, we have Homa Bay, you know, the Western Nyanza region comes at the top in regard to this particular issue. Remember, we have been talking about wife inheritance there. There's also missing a burial if you're a son. And there's a particular case here of Martin Otieno that I want to just read in brief. So, Mark Otieno was, or rather is, a bank employee. He was in unbearable pain, but the doctor found nothing wrong with him after running tests for malaria, typhoid fever, flu, pneumonia, H. pylori, diabetes, HIV. His blood pressure was also normal, and so were his sugar levels. So Otieno was given painkillers and asked to exercise. The doctor concluded the pains were from work-related fatigue, but the pain persisted. Then that's when he decided, you know what? Let me seek the help of a herbalist. And it was then that he learned that his sickness may have been caused by skipping some cultural rites after his father's burial. So instead of staying at home, back at home, the rural home in Chianda, I don't know if I pronounced it.
Chianda, that is in Siaya County.
Yes, Siaya County. Otieno returned home and flew to Dubai. The pain disappeared after fulfilling the Luo burial customs he had ignored. Can we say Ichieni? Are you crazy?
That's it's called Chira.
Now,
It's called Chira, right?
Now that is Chira. Now medics have come out and say, you know, at times we want to assist, but we can't. Matters of tradition and culture. Victor, you're better placed
Absolutely.
to help us understand this?
It's called Chira. You know, in Luo community, there are certain things that a man or a family shouldn't do. For example, if like in Otieno's case, the dad passed on, there are certain things that he was not obligated to do. You know, in the past, people would be shaved in a certain way.
To honor the dead?
Exactly.
Okay.
Initially, people are not allowed to engage in any, adult actions after the burial. You know what I'm talking about. And so many things. But perhaps it was a way, certain things were put by our forefathers, and they were meant to remain as such. Because you cannot go back and start negotiating with our forefathers. It's how it used to be. So it was proper for Otieno to come back and get cleansed. Get cleansed and just follow the tradition. Because wanasema mwacha mila ni mtumwa. It will follow you at some point. It will follow
But we're
you.
in the 21st century, Victor.
It doesn't
and
matter.
when I'm reading this report...
It doesn't matter, Regina.
Oh, Roger.
Yes.
I know it doesn't matter, but it should matter at some point, especially when these traditions that we are, forcing out and that people dictating that people need to adhere to are going to cause us, irreversible health consequences. One is the issue of wife inheritance. Now, according to this article, this is according to Jagongo Obura, director at the Technical University of Kenya. Wife inheritance may seem outdated, yet for ages inherited widows were cleansed through chola, placing a man's seeds in the womb to prevent her offspring from conditions like stunting in children, insomnia, sexual dreams, chronic fatigue, severe depression, and such. Now, those widows who refuse to be inherited experience abnormalities such as coldness of the body, hair loss, trembling, got huge pimples, swelling of the private parts, and growing a chin. A wife inheritance has since been deemed repugnant in the face of conditions like HIV/AIDS. But he goes on to say, it is even more shameful for a grandmother aged 70 and no longer sexually active to undergo such rituals in the name of superstition.
You see, certain things can be ruled because of, we are in a different century, yes, but there are certain things, even across the country, we have got different tribes. There are certain cultures that you can never run away from.
Now, let me also go with Anne Nekesa, a fashion designer in Nairobi, who considered herself a modern graduate and skirted certain Luhya customary birthrights, including not seeing the sun for 4 days after the birth of her son. What followed were a series of miscarriages which even the doctors could not help. She says, recalling that it was only after a traditional ritualist conducted rites reversing her miscarriages that Nekesa is now a happy mother of 4.
This gets scary when medics tell you that this is beyond us. If a medic actually tells you you need to go back home, go back to your roots to find out if there's a problem, because we can't scientifically find a problem, that should scare you. That scares me.
I know. That's
straight up.
We wonder,
scares me.
Okay, we talk about Christianity and culture and being in the 21st century. Mwacha mila ndio ni mtumwa, lakini of what benefit are some of these traditions? Regina, what value do they add to me and my generation to come?
Regina, there are certain things we can't debate about. We are in the 21st century, yes, but sometimes it's even beyond us. It's even beyond where we are as a nation, as a community. It's about talking to the elders and going back. Personally, I consult my elders a lot, because, at my age, there is so much that the elders know. You have to consult them because, for example, Otieno just decided, I'm in the 21st century, for example, the way you're saying, and this is me. I'm flying back to Dubai. I'm taking my flight. So, unaacha vitu zake in Chanda and only to realize that, hey, you have to go back to Chianda and talk to the wazee, then go back.
But Vic, my question would be, should we just blindly take the whole blanket and cover ourselves, whether progressive or retrogressive, or with the information that we have, and especially medically speaking, learn to pick and choose what honestly will not put you at harm, or the consequences will not outweigh the prospects? Because before you even answer that, Ray and Vic, there's a piece here that talks of how when it comes to curbing tribalism, teenagers must stop speaking the mother tongue. And when you think of that in an African space, first of all, that is considered un-African. Most of the teenagers, even today, they can barely speak their mother tongue. Most of them don't even know their Ushago. And there's that generational disconnect between our parents and the teenagers of this time. And experts are coming out to say that to end tribalism, people, and especially the teenagers, should stop speaking their mother tongue.
I don't think that's a solution.
No, that's one of the hard suggestions that are being put forward by experts, because looking at even our political trajectory over the years, tribes have always had something to say. But in this day and time, teenagers interact and do business and do whatever they want to do without considering the other person's surname.
I would look at it this way.
This is one thing that is considered very un-African.
I would not. Let's just drop. They've already brought in the issue of tribalism. We are now headed towards a general election. We've already started seeing alliances forming and others breaking.
Ethnic, for that matter.
In this country, every 5 years, that's when we are reminded, I'm Meru, I come from the mountain. Now I understand the mountain is split. I've never had that. I have never experienced that. I come from the mountain. It is after every 5 years that we are reminded, you come from the mountain, you come from Luo Nyanza, you come from the Rift Valley. And who are reminding us? Not because of the language that you speak, not because of the dialect that you speak, but because our leaders have picked our tribes as something to ensure that they remain, the status quo remains.
I think tribalism is the head.
Yes. Yes, we use our tribes, not because of the language you speak, but because leaders have found that when you're reminded, we Modoa Nyoba, you will vote like that, or you will come from Nyanza.
So,
or
do you think
it's not about the language for me? That doesn't augur well, because I might speak my Meru today, but you are seated across the studio. You're Kikuyu. Victor is from Nyanza. That doesn't stop us from having a cordial working relationship. I need to know my language, because at the end of the day, I am African, and I need to pass it down onto my children, not to use it as a weapon going forward.
Jen was saying that it's considered an African.
To not know your mother tongue. By Africans. Because many a times you even find when a teen is trying to speak their mother tongue and they mispronounce some words,
people
we make humor out of that. You laugh at them. And for them, it's not a big deal. But for our parents, our generation, knowing your mother tongue is part of who you are. Knowing where you come from, your shago, is part of who you are. But with this generation, and considering even the fact that the world is becoming a global village, and tribalism is a reality that we need to accept.
Jen, are you proud of your local dialect?
Absolutely. You know, when I tell people where my father comes from, they're always like, how?
What about you, Regina?
Ulitoka uko aje?
Anytime you want to koroga Meru pretty well, are you proud of that?
I wouldn't trade it for anything, because that is who I am. Those are my roots. That is me. But it doesn't mean because I speak a certain dialect that I should look down upon a Maasai or a Luo or a Luya simply because of where they come from. We need to move away from that, because this language that you're speaking is alien. English is alien. We had a language, we had a way to communicate before we got to where we are today. But that doesn't necessarily
And by
mean
the
because
way,
we are becoming a global village, we forget our roots.
Do you know, Regina, do you know the reason why the Tower of Babel collapsed?
Because we had too many people speaking a language they could not
different
understand.
languages. Oh, later you Ilbaro, we unakuja na spade. Well, later brick, another person was coming with, I don't know, Kabiro. Well, later cement, Jane was coming with, I don't know what. Waru. Mimi ndio, and all that. So the issue of tribe, God knew. It all started way back in the years. So, you know, all right. Okay, so ladies, before we wrap this up, let's just cross borders briefly and talk about the Zambian election. And report has it that Zambian opposition leader, that is called the United Party of National Development, UPND presidential candidate, Hakainde Hichilema, has defeated incumbent Edgar Lungu in Zambia's presidential election. That's according to the Electoral Commission, which has said that the final result from 156 constituencies bearing one. Now, in the final tally, Hichilema secured 2,810,777 votes, while Edgar Lungu was in second place with 1,814,201 votes out of 7 million registered voters. So according to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Esau Chulu, he said that the opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema has won that seat. So the massive win meant that Hichilema does not have to contest any second round of runoffs after meeting the constitutional threshold of 50% plus one for an outright winner. They also have that rule of 50% plus one to declare a winner. I think it's important to highlight what's happening across the borders. All right, it's season for elections, and even ours now, we are in that mood as well.
Now, talking about elections, before we cross over,
yes.
The Taliban is in Kabul. The Taliban have entered Kabul as American diplomats evacuate by chopper.
Now, Jen, to take us on a break.
We got so much more coming up in a bit, so do keep us company. Continue staying with us. We still are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Vipi watu wangu? Mama, karibu sana, karibu tena. Kachiri kijulikana kama Bildad kama kawaida. Okay. G-Cliff inamaanisha music kabisa. Au sio? Recent Romeo. Wewe ndio mshikaji pale peke yako ama kuna baadhi ya wasanii wengine ndugu yangu?
Mimi nafanya kazi hapo kama msanii pekee.
Pamoja tunafikisha namba.
Maana ni kupambana, kufa kupona hadi tufaulu.
Ubabaika nini?
Mama, nilikuwa na nini?
Dingo, tangu tuanze kumzungumzia hujamwita marehemu. Hiyo inaonyesha wazi kuwa bado kuna hisia na yeye.
Safari na kuapia ukafanya mimi nikapoteza kazi yangu hapa ndani na wewe upakae.
Sauti yake imepotea.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Your daddy died, sweetie.
No, my daddy's not dead, Mommy. Please tell me he isn't dead.
Sweetheart, believe me, I wish it wasn't true. I wish it weren't, but...
Don't exert too much effort. Manuel. Just relax, sir, please. Manuel. I'm going to call him. But you have to stay calm, sir. Manuel. You're still quite weak, Mr. Yes, Manuel.
Oh, may the heavens help me. Please help me find proof of Max's innocence. I'm begging you. Because I love him so much.
I have to find Florencia. I can't risk being uncovered and going to prison.
Una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the popos. Huh?
Drama.
Will he assault the queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya Tabasamu ni bure. Bonyeza *811*965#.
Maneno matamu humfanya mtu atabasamu ghafla, na pia mawazo mema huzifanya hali zitabasamu mbele yako ghafla. Hali ngumu zikawa nyepesi, hali tete zikatamanika. Ila unaponuna pia hali zinanuna. Hebu jifunze kutabasamu.
Kupata skiza tune ya Tabasamu ni bure. Bonyeza *811*965#. *811*965#.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the popos. Huh?
Drama.
Will he assault the queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
And welcome back. You are right in time for Ion Politics. My name is Victor Lowe. Let's get straight into it and let's talk about matters that happened politically over the weekend and what we should look forward to this particular week. With me in studio, I have got Wakili Warungu Mwangi, who is joining me once again. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Victor.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
As well as Daniel Orogo, who is also our frequent guest here. Daniel, welcome to the show once again.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here every Monday.
To start with, just a disclaimer. It's not for me to be seen as unbiased, all right? It was just for this particular show. We have gender balance, all right? We practice that. It's a men's affair today. Okay. We have Wakili here who can institute a legal proceeding against us for being legal bias. Wakili, spare us for this.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
You have given a caveat, so I'll spare you for today.
I like the way you're putting it. Gentlemen, over the weekend we had a lot happening, and politically so. But this week is an important week to start with. I'm starting with you, Wakili, because on Friday we expect the BBI report to be out. And it's a do or die for so many politicians as we speak. From the legal perspective, what should we expect? I know it's still a matter before court and probably cannot get into the merits and demerits of that particular case, but perhaps what should we expect?
Good morning, Mr. Victor. Good morning to our viewers, and Happy New Week. And I'll kickstart today's discussion by first congratulating our dear brothers and sisters, the citizens of Zambia, and by extension, Mr. Hile Chilema for his win. And he has won against a man or a president who had what we call in politics the benefit of the power of incumbency. And just to encourage our viewers, in whichever area of practice you are, either in politics or business. This is a guy that he was trying his luck at the 6th time. So congratulations to him, congratulations to the people of Zambia for holding a very peaceful and democratic election. And his win can only be compared to that of Chiluva of 1991, 59 to 60%
win.
Win. So to kickstart the discussion, on Friday it will be a very big day for the proponent and the proposal of BBI. Certainly not a D-day, because I can bet your bank balance account that this case will go to the Supreme Court. So it will be a big day for them. Of course, it will raise some political momentum depending on either way. The Court of Appeal will make its ruling. And just to what we can do for now is to discuss the speculation of the case without going into the merit or the demerit. For what we call in a doctrine of law called sub judice. Sub judice means that the matter is now under the judge, so you can't really discuss it. So depending on what the outcome will be, if the court will be able to agree with the appellant, and I normally tell people when you normally get your case to the appeal case, you don't start a new case. You are challenging the ruling of a lower court, that's the high court. So depending on what the Court of Appeal will rule, if it's agree with the appellant, of course it will raise some political momentum for the proposal of the people who have been supporting the BBI. And in the case that had its uniqueness on having a lot of respondents, we had almost 78 to 80 respondents. Reason being, even this time, the county assemblies were also responding to this case, being the people who passed the bill pursuant to Article 257. So either way, whichever way it goes, but one thing I can promise you, this is a case that will find itself in the Supreme Court, so we can just wait for the ruling on Friday, and then we'll be able to see the merits and the demerits that the court will find in the case, and whether it will be able to agree with the appellant or disagree with them.
Absolutely. Daniel, expectations? It's been a long wait.
Yeah, but I think before probably I weigh in on the expectations. One is to condemn in substance the rate at which young people are being extrajudicially killed in this country. I do not know what really pay our judgment sometimes, but I think it's important to, overscore the importance of sanctity of life.
Yeah.
It's very, very critical for us as a nation to have a conversation of the wave of bloodshed that is being spilled in this country. It doesn't mean well and spell well for us as a nation.
Yeah.
So the Kitengela 4 and the 2 gentlemen that were just buried in Meru. These are things that we really have to condemn in every platform that we find an opportunity to do that, and only urge the state or the machinery or the institutions that are involved to fast track justice and make sure that justice is delivered to them. Secondly, let me also join in the fray that we are seeing also a wave of democracy in the region, in Great Lake region. The elections outcome in Zambia, affirms the will of the people, and it's stamped on the authority of the rule of law and the respect of independence of institutions, Victor. That we can have an electoral management body that carries out an election free, fair, and credible, and therefore delivers the will of the people. And so therefore that in order, we congratulate, the president-elect, as he takes over the position. He has a task ahead of him to make sure that Zambia, that is, indebted, the Chinese are seizing their ports, and institutions and airports. I think His Excellency Hichilema has a critical role to play when it comes to reassuring that Zambia finds its place in the League of Nations. And therefore, going back to the topic of discussion, the political implications are there, that the rule, the proceedings at the Court of Appeal has got implications on political careers. One is in the effect that, it pokes the holes of a succession politics that we have. One, I keep on saying that it was a litmus test for the presidential side to deliver, BBI, because this was, the chipping bargaining point for the opposition leader, that he, reinvent himself through a referendum. But you see, legally, the reality is that our constitution do not allow us to have a referendum in less than a year to every elections, Victor. And therefore, I see the difficulties of having a referendum in, whether the court, but I also see the difficulties of the court ruling that points towards having a referendum. But I think the court in its wisdom would guide the proponents, to advocate for some of the implementations through the parliament, so that we do not throw the baby with the bathwater. I think this is one direction that I foresee that kind of events turning up, that even as we wait for Friday court ruling, I also see that it shall proceed to the Supreme Court. But the further it proceeds, the more difficult it becomes to have a referendum, because it's eating into the time of what the Constitution stipulates.
Because we also have a timeline as a nation running towards to the general election, and it will just be interesting to see how it will turn out. And just to put that aside, the issue of election and having a cap on the amount of money and the expenditure that all the aspirants should use is something that is now raising a lot of tension. Over the weekend, different organizations, ELOG, we had Transparency International also raised their concern, and a number of organizations saying that they are condemning and they're still pushing for that capping in the election. But last week, parliamentary committee said, you know what, you cannot have a caveat, and they sent that matter to IBC and said that IBC did not have that mandate to bring that kind of regulation at this particular point. Let me start with you, Wakili. What do you make of this? Was it timely for IBC to bring that motion to bring the capping for the campaign funding?
I think I will start by saying it's quite a sad commentary to say that
we have commercialized our politics, not in Kenya but also in Africa, and money has become the necessary evil in our Kenyan politics. To some extent, even for the young people or youth, it's become hard for them to get in what we call elective politics, because sustaining a campaign is not it's not a joke. You really need politics depend on two things, two aspects. One, strategies, the other one is the resources. And that's why you are finding a lot of entrepreneurs or business people get into politics. If you go back to your village or your town, you'll hear the person who owns a number of matatus in a certain circle is a person wanting to vie for an MC or an MP seat. So it's become even hard for career practicing people like teachers or nurses or doctors to go for those seats because of the money needed to sustain a campaign in terms of sustaining your campaign team, printing of posters, managing your campaign rallies. So it's become pretty hard. But I think Parliament, I don't know why it's becoming an injury or a blow to them, and they were given sufficient time. This is a law that was there in 2013. It's only that it was suspended in 2017. And they had until 2020 to make sure that they effect the same. So what IBC has done, it has gone ahead and done a subsidiary regulation on the same. Although I've gone through the same subsidiary regulation, and the only challenge or the mistake they may have done is to pretty copy what the American have done with their capping or financial regulation. So I think that's the biggest challenge. But my dear, we are a country where we are used to copy paste or plagiarize regulation from other states. Probably we borrow this heavily because we are a Commonwealth. We use a Commonwealth legal system called the adversarial. But it's good sometimes we also try to come with a hybrid regulation or our own, depending on our political terrain, other than a copy. Because one of the regulation states, if you are vying as victor, you form a financial committee and you give that money to a financial committee. And after the election, you lose or win, the remaining money is given to a charity. That's what happened in America. And many people will argue, it's my money, and if it remains, I need to either put it in business or reinvest it again. So I think what IBC has done is good. I also join ELOG and other civil society in supporting them. But I think we need also to relook or to restructure what they are done to comply with the terrain or the circumstances of our Kenyan politics.
Daniel, what do you make of that? Because IBC Chair Wafula Chebukati, tried to bring this capping, and sometimes most of the politicians said that they were questioning the timing of that regulation, which was being fronted by IBC, chaired by Wafula Chebukati. What's your take on that? Because politicians, the House Committee said it cannot work at this particular point. And as Wakili said, this is a rule that was put in place way back in 2013. So was it timely to bring it at this particular point?
Well, I think reading into what political leaders do is any regulations that are brought right now will be vetted in the lens of an approaching election. And whether it's meant for good, I think there is some degree that we politicize some of these legal provisions. Let me say this, that there is a report by the Westminster for Democracy on the cost of election. And when that report was published, reading through the report, you realize how our elected members of parliament, aspirants, different political aspirants, cross-board, from the president to the member of county assembly, embark on massive spending. And the question was that, one, where do these parliamentarians, the aspirants, get this whole money from? What are the sources? Are there, and if there are sources that are questionable? So I think, one, it is important to bring these regulations on board because, one, in good faith, I am convinced that such regulations will help us to, curb the massive spending and therefore lock out, potential aspirants, especially youth and women, who would want to fairly and squarely compete in the political terrain. But because of the financial war chest, they are edged out of, a clear political competition. And therefore, I agree that right now is important for us as a nation to have a conversation if we really want to vet the kind of leaders that we put into, in positions. Victor, I also see the merits of this kind of regulations. Like I've said, one of it is to introduce a terrain of free, fair, and transparent political campaigns. But also, there is another advantage of this kind of regulations. To the effect that, all political aspirants, after the election, you realize that all the people who are elected into the office, they will embark on money recovery strategies, at the expense of service delivery. And you realize that the reason as to why we don't get services to the people that we elect is simply because us as voters, we gave them a budget that they must finance from the sources that we are not aware about. And therefore, it follows that once they assume the position of leadership, they will not deliver services maybe for 1 or 2 years. One, because they are recovering the monies that they got. So even as these regulations come in, and one of the things that I advocate for, Victor, that even as we have it being at the select committee, at the parliament, these kind of issues right now should be devolved for public participation. And therefore, there is a word for meaningful public participation. Because when it's brought back to the citizens interrogate themselves and ask themselves very honest questions. Are we burdening the leaders that we elect into the offices? Are we pushing them to the level where they get many funds from the sources that we get? And what is the implications of that in terms of service delivery and accountability?
Could it be that's the reason why Kenyan elections is the most expensive? Actually, it's the second most expensive.
I think definitely, because that is another reason why there's floodgates of money opened when we are actually gearing towards an election. And one of the things that we also need to converse about is whether have elections a do or die, because when we have elections as a process where you either make it or you make it, then it becomes a process for competitiveness, where those people who do not want to lose, and therefore if they lose, what happens is that they embark on different strategies to make sure that money is recovered, to make sure that they give a difficult time for their opponents to deliver, and to effect to make sure that monies are recovered. And this is what I'm saying, that that has got implications to voters, because in the effect that monies needs to be recovered, then voters, one, service will not be delivered, and secondly, in the effect that the role of members who are elected in the office, for example, members of parliament, to provide oversight, MCAs to provide oversight, and the Senate, that will not happen, because powers and privileges to canvass, racketeering, make sure that the lifelong journey of finding advantages to the there is something that political positions bring to the person, the privileges of access to more money, to more institutions, to personalities, to their favors, rent seeking. So I think it is important for us to consider critically, not only to comment at the political leadership level, at a national level, but the citizens must also be provided a platform and a latitude to discuss on this on a public participation platform.
I will still ask that question, why whether that regulation which was prompted by IBC was timely. Was it the right time to bring it at this particular point? Because as it is, it was a regulation which was put in place way back in 2013. Why wait until now, 1 year to the election? Wakili, before you respond to that, let's take a break, and when we come back, we still have got much more, including issues to do with the coalitions now forming, and Deputy President says that let them come. I'm waiting for them. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Princess Chen, I know you are a good doctor, but can you do better than your father? Perhaps your father purposely didn't cure him and only wasted time.
Your Highness, I'm Thunder, an Imperial spy. We're here to kill Prince Chen, as His Majesty ordered.
Everybody stay alert. There are traps everywhere in here. Be careful.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Your daddy died, sweetie.
No, my daddy is not dead, Mommy. Please tell me he isn't dead.
Sweetheart, believe me, I wish it wasn't true. I wish it weren't, but...
Don't exert too much effort. Manuel. Just relax, sir, please. Manuel. I'm going to call him. But you have to stay calm, sir. Manuel. You're still quite weak, Mr. Yes, Manuel.
Oh, may the heavens help me. Please help me find proof of Max's innocence. I'm begging you. Because I love him so much.
I have to find Florentia. No one was around when I killed Horacio, but I can't risk being uncovered and going to prison.
Una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus espacios.
Timbi na Timbelio.
Mambo vipi watu wangu? Mama, karibu sana, karibu tena. Kachiri kijulikana kama Bildadi kama kawaida. Okay. Jiclef inamaanisha music kabisa. Au sio? Recent Romeo. Wewe ndio mshikaji pale peke yako ama kuna baadhi ya wasanii wengine ndugu yangu?
Mimi nafanya kazi hapo kama msanii pekee.
Pamoja tunafikisha na
welcome back. Thank you for still staying with us. The discussion still continues, and we are having that discussion where the politicians and election time, and IEBC which went before the National Assembly's Committee on Delegated Legislation, declared that the legal notice which was given by IBC was null and void, as it was published without the Parliament approval as required by the Election Campaign Financing Act of 2013. So just to bring you, Wakili, from the legal perspective, I know many civil society organizations will go to court to challenge that decision, which was rendered null and void by the House Committee. Will it see the light of day?
I think we'll have to wait and see which side the civil society are in, whether in the support of the regulation or against the regulation.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for the court to suspend the regulation if any Kenyan has what we call in law the local standard or the capacity. You can be able to show the court that you have the capacity or the interest upon which you are now fighting the case to oppose the regulation, either as a politician or a Kenyan of goodwill. I think the court can, what the court normally do is to give an injunction or to suspend upon now hearing of the case. But it's good to mention, Victor, that all these are because of the bad manners of our politics, or what we say the immorality practice of our politics. For one, when you choose your member of parliament, an MCA or a senator or a women rep, constitutionally he has 3 roles. One, to legislate in what we call legislative drafting, to represent and to oversight. To represent is if there is any issue in your constituency, he can go and raise that issue to the relevant committee. If it's issue to do with the road, do the committee on road. If it's a health issue, to oversight various audit report brought in parliament by various auditor or the auditor general. But when it stands that when you have a small function, when there is a harambe, you still call him and you demand certain contribution. It's bring now the bad manners of our politics from a citizen perspective. And this kind of populism, of populist practice of our politics has led most of the politicians now to go into now using public money or coming up with a project that we call development corruption in the interest of wanting to recover the resources of the money they used. So I think we also need to change the software of our Kenyan politics, even from the Wanjiko or Ocheng or Kipto perspective, in the way that we conduct our politics.
So it's all about us as Kenyans, the electorate.
It's all about us as Kenyans. I think we don't need to isolate Kenyans in this one and put our politician. We are also stakeholders in Kenyan's politics, and the more you ask for money, remember that your vote will be a politician will be buying your vote. So if a politician gave you 1,000, you do a simple calculation, how many days there are in 5 years, then you say 1,000 divided by those the number of those days, and you'll have noticed how many 50 cents that that particular politician bought you in a span of that 5 years term.
Daniel, some of the proposals were like the capping was supposed to be based on the location, the number of voters, and the square kilometers covered by that politician. Do you really think politicians ready to buy such? Because election in Kenya is one of the most expensive, and perhaps it's that point of every particular person will now have to move out and show the muscle.
Yeah, because elections are always a theater of outplay, and showing how someone is magnanimous in terms of both political standing, gravity, and the financial war chest. So since our elections and our voting is based on perception, I'm equally persuaded that politicians would really want to keep that rolling, because a number of voters, like you said, their perception are much into what this, it's transactional, what that kind of leader would give to the elected people after that. Apart from that, there were other considerations that were made with that kind of regulations. Apart from the square kilometers and all that consideration, they're also looking at the cost of transport.
Yeah.
They're also considering, the number of the media paying the venues and transport, advertisement and all. But you see, this is why again it is critically important to this one lays squarely on the voting. I like it that however much we would want to point these regulations and discussion taking place at a national level, but it all comes back to ground zero, and that is the citizens of the Republic of Kenya.
Why would it not be so easy for a politician and just to sell a manifesto, an idea, he or herself, and tell people who they are in Kenya?
No, our politics, especially in Kenya and in Africa at large, is not yet grown to the level where the consumers of information would definitely consume the manifesto and get persuaded that that is enough to vote you in or to vote you out. We are into a political, metamorphosis, and what we have right now is a nation of a growing democracy that is still hell-bent on other factors that are not ideal politics. Besides ethnicity, there is money. Besides money, there is perception, like I've said. And besides that, there is transaction that is being done. And as opposed to, the ideal nature where the voters would want to have a social contract with a leader, because that is what it should be. Politics could be a contract that you have for a span of 5 years with the person that you're electing. And in that contract, therefore, you dictate on the deliverables of what you'd want from an elected leader. But that is far from us as a nation and as Africa, because organizing politics lies on other factors that are not necessarily ideally in what we are currently speaking. But even as we move forward, it could be very critical to put that into consideration, that the projection is that in the coming elections, voters are slowly beginning to understand the catchphrase that choices have consequences.
But it's taking time. It's taking time,
but I think it's for the benefit of this country, that even as we understand the painful ramifications of the choices that we are making is purely based on the fact that we have been, like Wakili has talked about, that our politics has been, of a bad manners. And Moi used to say that siasa mbaya, it's maisha mbaya. And it seems the voters are not learning that. And lastly, Victor, I will reiterate in this platform again and again, the importance of studying the psychology of a Kenyan voter. A Kenyan voter seems to be disinterested in change, because if that would be true, then there could be change in this country. You cannot make mistakes for decades, repeat the same mistakes as we were talking about before. You can't be electing bad leaders each and every elections, and you turn out to be a nation of lamentation each and every time. So I think it's important for us, and this is why I said such a regulation should be the conversation of such a regulation should be devolved, in a sense that this should be discussed in town halls. What is the effect of campaign finance bill? What is the participation of voters in terms of public participation in regards to this bill?
Perhaps Wakili, what Danny, yes. Carry on. Wakili, what I'm asking is this one. He's talked about Kenyans. There is that part of information people are lacking. Somebody should start studying about the psychology of a Kenyan voter. But let me put it this way. Is it that Kenyans are lacking civic education?
Certainly, yes. And whatever he has said is true. I would concur with him. That our Kenyan politics are politics of personality other than the politics of ideology. And that has always been the biggest challenge. And even as you study the psychology of our citizen, it's also good you study the human nature of our politician. And I think politicians have noticed that or have learned that even if I don't perform or do anything to the Wanjiku or Kipto, after 5 years, money will be of essence, and it will put me again into power. And if you remember well, this was started or incepted by our late president, President Moi.
Yeah.
And he used two key strategies. One, ethnic effectiveness into holding to power, and the use of money. And if you can see, our deputy president has also mastered that card, usage of money in Kenyan politics.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we have the cabin. For the president, you need to have 4.4 billion.
Yes.
In the last general election, it went up to 7 to 8 billion. And it's during that election year or period, you find that there is a lot of fake money circulating or money being printed.
Absolutely.
If you remember, and that one makes money to lose its value. You remember that years ago in 1992, there was that 500 currency associated with a person.
Yeah.
So I even wonder how we are so low in terms of the practice of our politics. To some extent, we can print a currency and the same currency is attached to a personality. So I think it's boiled down to the bad man of our politics, and also it also boils down to the way we have been practicing our politics since early 80s, 90s, and then we are still carrying on with the same practice.
Yeah. Daniel, he's raised a salient point there. After every election year, you'll hear people say, hey, uchumi ni mbaya. Uchumi ni mbaya. So is it because there's a lot of money that has gone into circulation and money laundering takes place this particular period, allegedly take place this particular period of elections, and it plunges the country into kind of an economic turmoil after every election year?
Absolutely. And I think partly the negative implications of, as we are discussing the campaign financing act, I think it's important also to look at the merits and demerits of it. One of the demerits that I think I would advise IEBC to look into is, how did the commission arrive at the figures? It's important to discuss that, because 40 billion is not a joke. Victor, we've reached at a level where 40 billion sounds, it sounds normal.
40.9 billion. That's almost 50 billion.
It sounds normal.
Yeah.
But you see, if you go down to the villager, and the mamambogas our politicians keep talking about, and the mkokoteni pushes, and explain the value of 40 billion in terms of how many cows are these, how many camels are these. That moment you begin to explain the value of that money, then Kenyans will begin to know exactly what they are plunging themselves into. So even as we discuss this capping rate, which is important, but also it's important for IEBC, to tell the public, did there was a financial consultation on this, taking the effect of economic implications of that kind of regulations, because that then would tell us how prepared are we the post-election economic recovery, given the effect of COVID-19 that we are still feeling as a nation. And I think that is quite important. But again, the component about not only trying to regulate the behavior of politicians, it is also important that we look into the role of the independent offices, that are in Chapter 15 of the Constitution. Clearly, we've had a country where Chapter 6 stipulates very well about leadership and integrity, very well, on what are the requirements, what are the threshold of any person that would run for a leadership position. But when it reaches the implication, the implementation part of it, it's thrown out. We've seen a nation where we've seen leaders that are involved in bad nature of politics, like what Kelly was talking about, money laundering, crime, abuse. But then when it reaches where the rubber meets the road in terms of implementation, that is thrown
everything
out.
changes.
Everything changes. And this is why we are coming back to discuss a bill or an act that ought to have been fast-tracked in 2013. Because when it reaches the point of implementation, the game changes. So I think even as we discuss on that one component, broadly, it's important for us to look at other provisions when it comes to consideration of those who are running for leadership positions. What are the threshold? People are talking about academic, threshold.
The credentials and
NCIC is talking about when you're involved in hate speech, you are denied an opportunity to run. Are we able to stand by what we say when it comes to election so that it serves for us to get leaders that we want into positions?
Wakili, what will make this country change every election year? Because we're just literally months away. And I can tell you for a fact that money is going to start changing hands left, right, and center.
One thing I will first say is that it's only in Kenya, and it's very unfortunate that some of these figures, like 49.9 billion, or remember the other time we were also told that 2 billion get stolen on a daily basis. It's only in Kenya that some of this money sounds like Sunday school contribution. Very, you get shocked. Some of these figures are mentioned without any accountability or transparency to that. I think going back to your question, we need to change the way we think or we operate our politics. We also need to demystify some of these political seats, and like the presidency, the governorship, and the senatorial, the MP seat. And we make it not a dead or duo. And we make leadership to be real servantship other than the way we play politics in Kenya. To some extent, someone will go and sell his house in Modaigo or Karen or an apartment in South Sea to come and do politics. If he gets elected, he'll make sure that he'll have to recover the apartment, probably worth 200 million, the one he sold in South Sea. So we really need to make sure that we demystify some of these political seats, and we make sure that it's not necessary for you to become an MP or a governor. Like a question is being asked, where will the next or the second term governors go after 2022? And I normally answer this question in a very simple way. This person was, before becoming a governor, was probably a career person, either a lawyer or a doctor. You can go back to the same practice. This person was an entrepreneur. You can go back and open a supermarket or a hardware, depending on what you used to practice. We really don't need to spend a sleepless night thinking where you'll go after you serve your second term. So I think we really need to improve on our politics and make it a bit professional compared to the way it is.
Absolutely. Let me just end that at that particular point. Gentlemen, One Kenya Alliance is meeting. The proponents and the affiliate parties, they are meeting in Naivasha to draft a way and just to come together, and they are going to form a technical committee on how they are going to talk about it. But over the weekend, Deputy President William Ruto said that it's now time for seminars, committees and meetings and hotel, seminars and what have you, to chart a way forward on how they are going to get a person who is going to face him. My first question is, can Deputy President William Ruto make it alone? Daniel.
I have been insisting on the set again, and I will reiterate, as currently it is, no political formations will make it first round to the election and gain that plus 150%. I mean, it is impossible, it is impractical. Why? Because you're seeing the fragmentation that we are having in this country. Politics of kingpinship, a conglomeration of ethnicities and ethnic political parties. It is difficult for any political formation to have it. That's said and done. Sometimes I think in our comments, in our statements, we are double standards. I really do not want to get to, but I think when the DP makes such stinging statements on other leaders, but on the following day he's seen also in Karen holding meetings, and conversation. I mean, it's double standards. So I mean, it's politics, but again, we should reach a level where we also begin to practice what we preach. Well, you don't want to see other people making deals in the boardroom, but you also see in trying to have community, community leaders, meetings in Karen. But on One Kenya Alliance, as I conclude, it is important, and where this will break the camel's back when it comes to this alliance is the choice of president, the flag bearer.
Yeah.
And then another storm on their deputy. I think it's important to consider the kind of formations when it's based on one, integrity, is based on seniority, and to the fact that it's also based on experience. Sometimes I really, as formations are taking place, without being biased, I think it's important for the leaders of One Kenya Alliance to be very honest on the discussion.
But will it be so easy for them?
Nothing good is easy. I mean, if by now they could have make a choice of a flag bearer, then that could also be questionable. The most important thing about this conversation is, where do you take the experience of Musalia Mudavadi, for all those years, where do you pitch in, the diplomacy of Kalonzo Musyoka and the numbers that is critically behind him? What do you do with the former premier? Do you have to invite him over? Or does he have to come as an equal? Because this is what they have been saying. That it's important to consider the former premier to come on board as an equal partner and avoid being seen as a bully and as a big brother. So I think it's important that those kind of questions for this One Kenya Alliance to address. I am very optimistic. And one, I'm very also saying that Honorable Musalia Mudavadi should go. I don't want to. It's important for him to run as a presidential candidate. It's important for other principals to consolidate their areas and tour the nations and look at their political might. It's too early for an alliance. For me, exactly. This is my view. That is my view about it.
Elections in 2013, in 2002, the winning coalition was formed barely 6 months from election, and things changed. Let me ask you, why do you think Honorable Raila Odinga, Wakili, why do you think Honorable Raila Odinga is so quiet on this alliance, the One Kenya Alliance? He's not saying anything. But remember, when NASA was disintegrating, they said that, we are still open to, to conversation. We can still come and talk and what have you. But to this particular point, we have never seen any form of, connection between him and the One Kenya Alliance.
Let me first state that for the deputy president, being a slow scientist, I think he needs to read the 48 laws of power, and more so a zero to a law that states that you should always appear weak when you are strong and appear strong when you are weak. The biggest challenge with him, he has always been appearing very strong. And appearing very strong, the implication of it is that you allow your opponent now to strategize well on how to finish you. If you compare the situation of Netanyahu appeared very strong. But Naphtali, with the political parties in Israel, they came together and they were able to defeat him. For Raila, he knows at the end of the day, all these former NASA partners, at the end of the day, and I think we mentioned it the other time, they all come to him. When now Chicken will come home to Lost for them, they'll notice that if they don't join hands with Raila, if they decide to go it alone, they will automatically have to lose. And if you pick this case of somebody like Kalonzo, I think it's the longest time that he's staying out of government. And I think he'll have to see the best option for him. So Raila knows it's a matter of time, and they will start now having a negotiation and planning on other opportunities that they can take. Just like they say in parochial Kiswahili, hata matumbo pia ni nyama. So they will come to that point where they will notice that they can pick other position. But for now, what they are doing, they are just cementing One Kenya Alliance to increase their negotiation or their stake in terms of negotiation when that time will arise.
He said that they're trying to cement One Kenya Alliance. So meaning they know what lies ahead of them.
Sure. Well, I'm not able to just project, what would come. But all these presidential candidates under One Kenya Alliance are potentially, presidential candidates, Victor. And through the accumulation of experience and political knowledge they have, all through, I think any one of them qualifies to be a flag bearer for that. One of the things that I would advise the coalition not to do is to assume, that it is difficult to work with other partners, but also do not fall back into a position where one of the principals come in and dictate the terms. I think that would be where the breaking point is. I would want a conversation between the principals in a sense that we have one common agenda, not one common enemy, but we have one common agenda, and that is to ascend into power in 2022. And with that on board, then everybody will bring in the value. Honest discussion. And I like what Wakili has talked about, that it is important for them. And I have seen the conversation, the demeaning factor, the pride for some of the political formations. But I think that would work against efforts to cement and form a crafting alliance. Whether Honorable Raila Odinga squares it alone or he comes on board, the important element to underscore is that there is a one common agenda, and that is to deliver votes in 2022. I think that is what, with all qualities, with all powers and with all privileges and abilities, let the coalition not underestimate the value of any principles involved.
Gentlemen, thank you. Absolutely, time has run so fast. I always say that time runs so fast when you're having a good conversation, but I'm so sure we'll always have this conversation moving forward. That is Wakili Warungu Mwangi and, of course, Daniel Orogo, who is also a political analyst with us here on KBC. Now, every 12 years, every year, that is rather, 12 million girls under the age of 19 in developing countries give birth. Now, a new study report by the World Health Organization says that impoverished, poorly educated and rural girls are more likely to become pregnant than their well-off counterparts. But now, tragically, for thousands of girls, teenage pregnancies results in death. Now, Purity Morseo reports on the discrimination, stigma and struggles that teenage moms endure to keep up with their education. Watch this story.
In the quiet corners of this crowded slum, Kibera, 17-year-old Anne Mwende, not her real name, has been forced into adulthood with responsibilities beyond her years.
Nilikuwa na uhusiano wa boyfriend after kumaliza class 8 ndo kapata ball.
Pregnancy denied her enjoyment of her teen life.
Nilijua masomo yangu imeisha hivyo, sitaienda tena. Nikasema hivyo tu ndo vile imeisha. Sasa vile nimepata ball sasa zilipua fi.
Her life took a U-turn.
Nikaona hope maisha yangu itachange.
She was prepared for the worst anyway.
Mi kenye tunasema nirudi shule, nimalize shule, then nitafute job ama nisome kitu yenye naweza fanya.
Her mother is supportive of her dreams, but she tells me the community will never let her be.
Watu hukaa chini, wana discuss maisha yao. Wakisema hivyo ndo vile maisha yangu imeisha, stai kaa tena na wasichana wengine wadogo, nishakuwa mama.
Anne is remorseful for her actions, and all she appeals for is a second chance in life.
Sitarudia mama, anilipie tu fee nimalize. Sitarudia kosa kama hilo, nisha learn lesson. Sizifanya kitu kama hiyo tena.
Life has not been easy either for Anastasia Akelo, not her real name. She lives in Kisumu Ndogo in Kibera slums, Nairobi. She is 16 and already has a 6-month-old son.
I gave birth on the 30th of November last year. I had a relationship with a young guy who was in college. And that time I had joined Form 1 on that 3rd month.
The obtaining situation forced her to drop out of school.
I told him first, but he didn't understand me. He was just wanted me to just about the baby because he was not financially stable. And my mom didn't want to see me at that time too.
Anastasia says she is struggling to feed her child every day.
I can't see my life again. And because sometimes I would wish if my father would be alive, maybe he would support me in life. And I didn't expect to give birth at this age. I wanted one day to become someone important in life.
Anastasia's neighbor, Beatrice Alo, is 20. She has a 5-year-old son. She gave birth at the age of 15.
Maisha ikaanza kuwa ngumu, au marafiki zangu pia wakanitoroka. Wenye nilikuwa nao wazazi wao wakasema wasitembee na mimi, nimepata mimba na bado mimi ni mdogo na bado niko shule. So hata pia mwenyewe nilikuwa naogopa hata kutembea nao. Najificha tu kwa nyumba. So hata kueleza wazazi wangu ilikuwa, yani kuwafia hata kuambia kitu nataka ilikuwa shida. Sasa mzazi wangu, babangu sana alikuwa mkali sana.
It's often described as the most changing experience that a woman can have, but for Beatrice, motherhood may have come too soon.
So ilikuwa ngumu, niko tu kwa nyumba peke yangu. So ikafika siku nienda kuzaa. Hiyo kuenda kuzaa nikaanza na operation, so shida ilikuwa ngumu. Hakuna mtu akushughulikia mtoto. Mama wangu saa nyingine anaenda hizi kazi za kufua, anarudi anishughulikie.
She will never regret these tender moments with her son, but Beatrice may long for the care for a young girl like her.
Nikajikubali, nikakuja nikamwambia mama wangu, nimekubali mtoto ni wangu. Hata kama watu watanitusi, nitajikubali. Meya anaona nitusi hata kama ni mwanaume ananitolewa kwa sababu niko na mtoto, nimekubali nitakaa na mtoto wangu. As long as nimeshakubali mimi ni mama, nitaishi na mtoto wangu, nitastruggle na yeye.
Discrimination and stigma meted upon teen mothers, for instance, cost the future of this middle-aged woman, Judith Shitabule. She was 16 when she discovered she was pregnant with her first child.
Sasa ikabidi tu mamangu ndiye ameshughulika kila kitu. Then mimi conscience yangu naambia na sini fulani alinidraga kanifanyia hivi, I'll just go back to him. Mimi nikaenda kumtafuta wakati sasa nimekuwa na afya njema, sasa mtoto hata ameanza kukaa. Kaenda kumtafuta, nikamuuliza wewe, na vile nilifika tu hivi akaniambia I'm sorry, nilifanya vibaya, but I want my child.
Shitabule's ambition of becoming a nurse evaporated.
Mimi ndio huyu huku, mimba ndio hiyo, mimi naona tu tumbo imegrow, lakini sijajua ni. So my neighbors wale wa nyumbani sasa, na unajua wote tu ni relatives, wakasema aku mtoto sangeenda tu university, na unajua sasa ni vile my family is ile humble background, sasa wangeweza hata kunipeleka hiyo parallel.
Social consequences for pregnant adolescents may include stigma, rejection or violence. This may well jeopardize girls' future education.
It should not be the end ya maisha ya mtu. Inazima tu ufocus na ujue tu ni nini ulitaka. Unajua vitu mingi zimeweza kuwaste hata wa mama wengi, ni kwamba sasa kama mimi vile nilizaa mapema, ikabidi niolewe mapema, na ikabidi tena nitoke huko. Kitu yenye huwa inapoteza watu wengi, wakishatoka huko wanaona tena wapate bwana mwingine.
According to the World Health Organization, pregnancy and childbirth complications are the leading cause of death among girls aged 15 to 19 years globally, with low and middle income countries accounting for 99% of global maternal deaths of women aged 15 to 49 years. However, a team from the Polycom Development Organization in Kibera is leading a campaign to raise awareness about teenage pregnancy and family planning.
We have so many girls, teenage girls, who have become pregnant in this community, and the COVID situation worsened it because many kids were at home, and because most of their parents lost their jobs and everybody was at home, then the small house becomes too congested for everybody. So most of them would seek for places to feel free, and mostly they got into men's houses, mostly men who were single, and they became pregnant.
Jen Anyango, the Polycom team leader, laments that some families refuse to break with tradition, making their work difficult.
If these kids are not protected, they're going to have more kids. because some of them have had their kids because, in exchange for something.
People from slums like this one are more likely to have children at their younger age. This not only cuts into their own incomes, but also earning potential of their country.
The government should own up. The girls even go for their, we call it prenatal clinics. So from there, the support should be there until they are adults.
The World Health Organization estimates that about 21 million girls aged between 15 and 19 years in developing regions become pregnant every year, and approximately 12 million of them give birth. Adolescents who may want to avoid pregnancies may not be able to do so due to knowledge gaps and misconceptions on where to obtain contraceptive methods and how to use them. The few cases are among the growing statistics of teenage mothers whose destinies have gone down the drain. Stigma is playing a greater role in destroying the future of these girls. Where will the help come from? Purity Museo in Kibera, Nairobi County.
Thank you for staying with us this far. In case, once again, you are just joining us, karibu tena sana. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jane Mambui. Remember, you can always be part of these conversations that we get to have here on Good Morning Kenya. Talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle, both on Twitter and Facebook, ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. My individual handle is at Jane Mambui across all the social media platforms. We welcome you to share with us your thoughts, and you can also let us know where you are watching us from this morning. So right now we move on to this next conversation, and this is about the media fraternity, the journalists who are, or other students who are aspiring to become journalists, just understanding where we are when it comes to the curriculum that is being offered, understanding the market needs, as well as embracing the emerging trends in the media space. And to help us with this conversation this morning, we have with us David Omoyo, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the Media Council of Kenya. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Thank you for making time to be with us today.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
All right. Now, let's just start with the basics and start with understanding the mandate and the functions of the Media Council of Kenya.
The Media Council of Kenya, of course, is a public body set up by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Media Council Act of 2013. With the role of promoting professional journalism. Ideally, in the mission, we say we set media standards and then we ensure compliance. So we promote professionalism and responsible journalism. We broadly protect the rights of journalists to do their work, their safety. We accredit them based on training and standards that we have set. But we also ensure that we protect the public to make sure that only accredited journalists do the practice of journalism, following the Code of Ethics for practice of journalism, fairness, accuracy, and all that. So we are dual. Number one, we want to promote professionalism, making sure that journalists do their work better. And number two, we also ensure that they are responsible.
Yes.
So that, because from time to time we think that the media also needs to operate within certain standards.
Yes.
So we accredit them, we protect them, we ensure their training standards are done, and we ensure that we protect Kenyans from, let's say, unfair practice of the media. Yes.
Exploitation.
Yes.
Now, looking at our country, and especially journalism is still a fairly, for lack of a better word, new career for so many professionals in this space. But looking at the uptake in the recent years, from what you have seen when it comes to the accreditation and also just ensuring that quality and standard is adhered to, what has been the trajectory when it comes to the uptake of journalism courses across the country?
Before we mention journalism courses, it's good to mention the media field.
Yes.
From 10 years ago, we had about 9 TV stations and about 33 radio stations. Now we are at above 90 TV stations and more than 300 radio stations. I say so because the radio station will be about 200, but a few times there are few community ones that are on for a while and off and all that. So you're looking at more than tenfold increment in 10 years.
In this group?
Yes. It's, I mean, from 9 to 90, from 30 to more than 300 is really an exponential growth. And now we imagine we have the rise of bloggers, online news agencies, guys who just operate and publish on the internet without printing papers and all that. We have a very broad, and almost all universities now are offering journalism and media courses. So it's really a field that has grown rather fast. Also, it's about the fruits of devolution, the new constitution, the opening up of the airwaves and all that is really, we have seen what people call exponential growth, training and all that. We think a few times that there could be little bit of market dynamics and all that, but we have what I would call almost enough media houses. Just that the little challenge you have is that it isn't very well distributed. There are regions, there are communities in this country that do not have even one radio stations or TV in their language, and we have another community or two which has more than 10 in their language and all that. So there's that lack of balance, but of course it's market dynamics and all that. Yes.
Now let's take a step back and understand, you know, the fact that in just 10 years we have seen such growth clearly shows there's so much potential in this area, and it needs some sort of guidance when it comes to steering it in the right direction. And I want us to start with the institutions that offer some of these courses. Now, looking at the first at the accreditation of these universities to be able to offer this particular course in the institution, are there requirements that they're supposed to fulfill that as the Media Council you require them to?
Yes, but I will...
Of course, working with the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, Q, Commission for University Education, or the KICD and all that. The Media Council develops the curriculum for diploma level media training, electronic, print, online and photography. That is what we do. So the basic requirements would be what is set out by IQ, the Commission for University Education, training facilities, the training, that is the professors, the lecturers and all that, and you know, at least a minimum number of students. And if you're teaching radio or TV production, having the relevant studios and equipment. So they are basically what I would call universal, the human capital to train and the technical equipment to train, and then the curricula to follow thereof. So we have universities offering degrees, and we have and diplomas, and we have colleges doing that. Of course, we started with the tradition of the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, and then we have several other colleges doing that. Universities, we have the School of Journalism, University of Nairobi. Now we have several across the country. So we have those at very broad level. What I said, what we'll have as the minimum requirements to offer the course. But you know, we get to a level where there is something called liberalization, which made the media expand and all that, whereby the market now drives the quality of your courses. Will be seen about how the employees, the employers, impress graduates from a particular college and all that, because any school, any university can offer a degree. You have enough visiting professors and you have a studio and all that, but the quality of that will be seen in the products, the graduates you give to job market is what will determine. So it's usually market determined, because the minimum requirements are not very difficult to meet, you know, getting enough people and all that. We have a challenge though, that in some places, especially university level, journalism is either thrown in the languages department, and they are taught by linguists, and there is no industry player and all that. It's a crisis actually across
universities. And a broader school.
Yes, the crisis we have is that we have at university level, universities giving away a journalism degree, and the students were never taught once by an industry specialist. There was no journalism lecturer. They were taught by a linguist and a PR person and all that. We have people giving degrees in radio production, and they do not even have a radio studio. So you coming out to your degree or diploma in specialist electronic media radio production or TV production, and you go to the university, there is neither TV studio, not a radio studio, not even a camera and all that. So really we have those challenges of that quality control. And that's why I said that because of the nature of accreditation, where the Media Council advises the Commission for University Education, we don't, apart from colleges, we inspect and recommend their diplomas, the degree level we only advise. we realized that several universities, unfortunately, are giving Kenyans a raw deal.
And that is why we are seeing employers, and not just in the media space, we are seeing so many employers complaining that there's the disconnect between what the graduates are taught in school and the actual labor market. Now, this brings me to this curriculum modular that has been proposed, and I believe is in the pilot phase by the Media Council of Kenya.
Yes.
What exactly informed the background towards proposing this particular modular? And could you tell us a bit about this modular in itself?
Yes, I said earlier that we have the diploma in journalism, electronic media, print media, and all that, which is a series of modules, units, practicum, and all that. But then we realized that we have people interested in specific modules. You could have done, say, your degree in law or degree in education.
Yes.
And you want to venture into media. We have a course we call Journalism 101. 6-week intensive course that takes you through what is journalism,
crash program,
and all that. So it is that one alone. You already are qualified in your field, but you take that alone, then you understand. That will include the code of ethics for the conduct of and practice of media, the laws of the media regulation, how the 5 W's and H of journalism and all that. You realize that we do not then want to know that to go where you have your degree, but to do journalism, you spend a whole year with a lot of time on foundational courses and all that. Remember, in the context of university, we have several core courses that are shared and all that.
Yes.
Then we have the specialists. So we narrow that down. Then you may want to say people reporting. We have one curriculum about say climate change reporting. You already did your diploma in journalism or your degree, but now climate change is a new phenomenon and all that. So then we give you training on that. Then you could get we're working with another partner on health reporting, and so you take a course in that. So the whole idea is that it's a course that you can take. In itself, it completes you, but it can be part of a series. So we are working on multiple agreements with the universities and all that. You could say that if you take 9 modules over a period of time, you qualify for an executive certificate or diploma recognized by the senate of a university or two and all that, so that you do not have to traditionally go through the 2-3 year course. The requirement is you already have met the minimum requirements. You are in education. For example, you want to get into media and you are interested in reporting law. We give you basics about law, how to report from the courts and all that, a short course. So the whole idea of the modular is that it's a buffet. You can pick something that you like and it completes you. We are also working on something about reporting legislative processes. We're working jointly with the National Assembly. That's the National Assembly and the county assemblies and all that. You go through the laws, how people report in parliament, how debates are done, motions and all that. It's intensive, and the people giving you that are, of course, a few lecturers, practical people, MPs, the speakers and all that. So you come out and you already have a grasp. So the whole idea of the modular is break down the different units in the diploma or degree to standalone things that you can pick and take, and you're complete yourself.
Now, in terms of ensuring quality when it comes to the practice in journalism, how is this going to be ensured? Because just going back to my time in campus, there were those university common courses that we all had to do, and then when you get to towards the end of your second year, third year, that's when you get to specialize, and these were part of what you actually get to meet when you go outside in the labor market. Looking at this particular modular that is being proposed by the Media Council, you get to pick and choose what you feel you need as a profession. Won't it compromise quality in one way or the other, given you didn't get some of the basics that cut across the job market?
Sorry, you need to understand the beginning of this modular courses.
Yes.
We are not replacing basic training.
Okay.
We are not taking Form 4 graduates and putting them into this. Yes, so we are already taking, you are a lawyer, you are a teacher, and you know, we are talking about now largely the Faculty of Arts and the Social Sciences. You have done the combat courses generally, isn't it? And you have your degree in law, but you want to venture, like many of us, you know that in the media, some of the best editors we have, we are now currently celebrating Hilary Ngweno, who was an engineer in something. The other very senior editors around town did not do journalism basically, but they have a degree in something. So the foundational courses are already largely universal.
Yes.
If you are in the social sciences, for example, you have studied matters of governance, certain anthropological
Peace
courses
and
and all that, isn't
Yes.
it? So when now you have your degree in law and you want to venture into journalism, we are not sending you back for another 3 years. Yes, we think that you have the philosophical foundation. You understand conflict, the issues about governance and all that. So now you're able to take that course. That way, when you come onto air at once, you understand, because we already have very many people who have not trained in journalism,
but they're
who are
practicing in this
occupying
space,
very critical spaces in the media. So this course now immediately helps them.
So this particular module, if I'm getting you right, is for those that have already been practicing,
yes,
but would wish to adapt to the emerging trends.
Yes.
Now, for those that have already been practicing in the media space, as you say, occupy some very important spaces, will they be required to take this modular part of these modules in order to continue practicing and working the space that they are, or moving forward, those that are practicing, and if they would need?
You may want to know that beginning last year, the Media Council has been only accrediting journalists.
Yes.
But we began now accrediting all media workers. Anybody in the content delivery department needs accreditation. That means you are either a talk show host, you are a DJ, you are say an interviewee or an interview and all that, because you occupy a space where content is delivered.
Yes.
So you already are a doctor and you host a health program. We think that you will benefit a lot if we tell you the basics of journalism, the ethics, what you can or may not do in media and all that. So those occupying space now, because we are accrediting. If you did not, there are two ways of accrediting journalists and media workers, either by academic qualification or by continuous practice. If you have graduated from our well-known colleges and universities, you are automatically accredited. But if you did a course that is not media related, then you have to take the journalism 101, as I called it, so that you get to know the laws of the media, the ethics, how to do a few things. So it's now a requirement that every media worker gets accredited. Yes, because then you find that sometimes we were accrediting only the journalists, like the people who read news.
Yeah.
Yet we have an entire crew, participating in content delivery. Yes, so it's broad now, and it's a requirement. It's a short course. We actually do that in-house.
Yeah.
We just recently finished that training for the Switch TV, the Science TV. The people with special abilities and all that, and they were the first graduates, because then they had their own qualifications. They understand the work, but then we took them through theirs was 12 weeks, because there was a lot of practical work and all that, and then they immediately qualify now for accreditation. So it's really, you must already be in the space, or you must already meet, and minimum qualifications for modular courses in our case is not the Form 4 certificate. You already have fitted in and did a bit of background.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, we're also living in a time where emerging trends is a reality for so many people.
Yes.
Social media has become a stream in itself.
Yes.
We have people who are using social media as a full-time career, and it still falls into the media space. Looking at this space and also just accepting and looking at ways to sort of regulate and also accredit those who are using this platform, has that been factored in looking at emerging trends?
Yes, for information, I think last year, we have accredited media house, online media houses. I will mention of a few. There's Kenyans.co.ke, Tuko, and a few others, because there are people now who do not have channels, they do not have a TV or radio, they do their work online.
Yes.
We have accredited them as media house, so we accredit their journalists and we accredit them as media houses, because internet itself is a mode of delivery. There you have a newspaper as a platform, you have TV as a platform, the internet is a platform, and there are people who choose that I will do my work and I will publish on the internet. So we accredit them. There now we have what we call the UGC, the user generated content. There are people who want to go on Twitter and break news and all that. We can't do much about them because they are not media houses and they're not professional journalists. Otherwise, if you are a professional journalist and you have a platform, we accredit your employees and that platform as a media house. And I think we have seen one has about 33 people, one of those online. So it's really emerging. And surprisingly, There are two broad advantages of that.
Yeah.
You are accredited media house, therefore now you qualify for advertising. We have worked with the government advertising agency. Now government can advertise in online media outlets because you are an accredited media house. So the way you put an advert in the newspaper, you can also put an advert on an internet or an online basis. Yes, so that's one. And then the journalists enjoy the full privileges. They have full accreditation and all that.
All right.
Because you also have to agree that, well, those run that way. Even the mainstream media houses, like KBC here, for example, you also have an online team. We have people who don't come here, but they publish what we're doing online. So, and if a media house chooses to do the online work alone, we recognize that as a full media house. What we do not recognize are the ad hoc bloggers and, people who own blogs or tweets. And you may have 2 million followers, but until you follow the process of recognition, we assume you are a telecommunications equipment user.
All right.
Yes.
Now, we'll just have to pause at that particular point because I believe that is a whole area that triggers quite the conversation in many other people. But do stay with us. We are having a conversation about the media space and just looking at how we are adapting to some of these emerging trends and helping you be able to practice journalism regardless of the restrictions that they may be. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the Popos. Huh?
Drama.
Will he assault the Queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports, and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Timbi na Timbelio.
Mambo vipi watu wangu? Mama, karibu sana, karibu tena. Kachiri kajulikana kama Bildad kama kawaida. Okay. G-Clef inamaanisha music kabisa. Au sio? Recent Romeo. Wewe ndio mshikaji pale peke yako ama kuna baadhi ya wasanii wengine ndugu yangu?
Mimi nafanya kazi hapo kama msanii pekee.
Pamoja tunafikisha
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company. We just want to pick up from where we left off in regards to this conversation all about the media space and just looking at some of the emerging trends when it comes to modulars and curriculums that can be able to enable you practice in this media space. Now with us in studio we still have David Omoya, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the Media Council of Kenya. Now before the break we were just on that particular point about blogging, and this is a space that so many young people have embraced, and for some it has been because once they left school, job wasn't available. They didn't have interning opportunities to go to certain media houses or production houses to be able to be part of that. Now, looking at this gap that is there when it comes to the transition from school to the labor market, and that is internship, how are we faring?
We are not faring very well. So like as we had an exponential increase of media outlets, we also had a lot of interest in people wanting to join journalism. So we had colleges and universities offering the courses. The quality is at another level. So we have numbers coming in. We have seen a few changes because of the rise in the technology and other convergence matters. We have now a person being able to do several things. So the media market is not able to absorb all of them. And so the challenge we've had is that what we saw from data is our young people unable to graduate before I go to internship. You've done the coursework, you need industrial placement so that you can go back and graduate, and you get stuck. It's a crisis. It's really a crisis. You get sometimes up to, and we are not very big, you get sometimes up to 10 to 15 applications a week of people wanting to get industrial placement. Yes. Of course, there is the other level of internship, which is you have graduated, you need to really, get into a little academy to do that. So through we have the MCK Academy, MCK Africa Academy. It's a virtual academy because the modular courses, partnership with universities and media houses. What we are doing is we realize that we need to respond to one challenge now: facilitate our journalism and media trainees to graduate by facilitating their access to industrial attachment. That means that now we are working with multiple media houses, yourselves included, so that we get the people. The recruitment process is the same. They still come to you and all that, but so that we facilitate you to do, because also the corona pandemic and all that, the media houses are not able to absorb the attachees. And when they do, in a few cases, you can't facilitate the transport. And maybe you have a media house down in Tana River, but you can't send a journalist there because they need some living allowance and all that. So what we have, the MCK Industry Attachment Program, I have to note this, that it's fully funded by government through the ministry, is we facilitate young graduates or journalism students who need the attachment module to be able to graduate. So they apply here, they apply to the Nation Media, the Standard, and as many media houses as possible. A joint selection we do, then we attach them for 90 days at the specific media house. That way then they get the training opportunity and all that. Of course, there's the normal supervision to supervise them and all that. So we have 100 per quarter. So 100 people, 3 months want to talk, another 100, 3 months want to talk and all that. So MCK will work jointly with the media houses in the recruitment of those such people. You apply, the interviews are done. If KBC can take 20, you take 20. Who can take 2, they do and all that. And then MCK will pay the interns or the attachees a living stipend of 15,000 shillings per month. That is for their transport. Now, survive. Maybe you are training in Nairobi and you're going to Nakuru for attachment. You need some money for food or for your transport and all that. And you need maybe sometimes 1,000 shillings for the insurance and all that. So we are going to see up to 400 per year. We hope to expand that more. And the whole idea is that this is national. It's not just in the big media houses. And then we are not recruiting and imposing them on a media house. If we jointly come and see, you say KBC can take these people, Mombasa watano, Nairobi kumi and all that, we sit jointly, they go through the process, they come in, and for 3 months we take care of them. That way we facilitate Momaliza will graduate and all that. We are hoping, and we've made the request before the CSICT, that we introduce an internship program. You have now graduated, you need now a placement. That will be 6 months, and then you are attached to a department in a media house for 6 months. So we hope to also be able to do that. Number one, be able to expand, take more numbers on industrial attachment, because we have a bit of backlog. Media houses, because of corona and all that, did not take. So we have a bit of people stuck around graduation. We want to clear so that now the cycle flows, and then after you have graduated, because by putting them exposure to a media house, 6 months here, you could take a few months across the different departments. People will, the media house will like the talent and absorb them. Others will realize, I was not supposed to be cameraman, I was supposed to be producer. They will understand and all that. So we hope to start. But for the industrial attachment, we are rolling it out. Beginning is next month. We will put the process of application and how people to apply and all that, different media houses this week, so that people can start getting in. It's a pretty straightforward matter.
And maybe what are some of those qualifications that trainees who are hoping to be part of this need to fulfill?
Simple matters. Wewe ni mwanafunzi in a university learning journalism, you are due for attachment. You apply.
So as it has always been.
Yes, that's simple. That's all you do. Then we agree we are going to sponsor. So maybe, I know, KBC, you take more people, maybe 80, but Media Council will sponsor 20. The Standard will take a few and all that. It's a simple. We are not trying to introduce layers and layers of bureaucracy. We just are facilitating. You are a student. You are either in a university. You are in a college, accredited college, because then we have a few colleges that sit on top of. We have a few. We've gone to a place where during the day sometimes it's a driving school.
At night it's a whole institution.
So if you are a student in an accredited college, the process is the same. You are a letter of attachment from the school. You get a media house. We already have an agreement. We know that at this media house we'll be taking this number of people for 3 months. You come in through this and we facilitate. You get your monthly stipend. You come. There will be a little supervision jointly, because the media house will get someone to supervise and train you. And the workflow. So we are not introducing layers of bureaucracy, and we will be announcing with specific media houses how that happens. So a media house advertises under the MCK Industry Attachment Program. You come in, you are recruited, we get the names, you're put on our list, and you go on and we supervise. You become part of an alumni network and all that. No extra layers, no extra papers needed apart from the normal industrial attachment papers that any student will need.
Now, what of the accreditation process for these young trainees that are coming out of school into the labor market?
Normally, we accredit journalism students studying in universities and colleges recognized by MCK. So you get their student accreditation card. It's 300 shillings. I think we have not increased that. So you already have a trainee accreditation by MCK. So the process remains. Yes, and as you come in here, you already get we assume you are taking journalism in a recognized institution, so you are an accredited journalist. Ukimaliza, when you graduate, your student pass expires, you get a full journalist card. Yes.
Now, remember, this conversation involves you and I, and we welcome you to share with us your thoughts. And there's Josie on Twitter who is asking, how do you know if an institution is accredited or not? Because this goes back to the whole conversation about journalism being offered under a larger school of a certain part of the education ecosystem.
Yes, we know, because we are part of the accreditation process. You are either university accredited by Q, the Commission for University Education, or you are a college, and our training department, we have the checklist. We check, we look at the profile of the university and all that. So how you know whether it's accredited or not is simple. We are an accrediting agency. We work with government entities. So it's a straightforward matter. It's not a complex matter. Getting an accredited institution, college or university, you either have it on the Q website, or the TVETA website and all that. So it's not rocket science. You're either accredited or you're not. It's like knowing whether you have a press card from MCK or not. You either have it or you don't. It's not, there's no complex science behind it.
And what of those who are going to some of these institutions? By day it's a driving school, at night it's a media school. In order to know that I am actually studying in a legit school, what do I need to look out for?
Yes, what we are finalizing, and we've been working, is now we'll get the TVETA website already has them, but MCK will start publishing. We were waiting for a little approval to start publishing the list of accredited colleges and universities offering journalism. So you just check the website and it's available, or you ask the Media Council, you are informed within 7 days. Yes, because the truth is we have to protect Kenyans from unscrupulous guys, and we have a few colleges that are very strange. Yes, the list, number one, exists. The university list exists on the website, the TVETA list, and the MCK list. We will be publishing it, I think, within the month. We were waiting for certain approvals, because we also developed our own checklist on which college we recognize, and then we proceed.
All right.
Yes.
Now, as we gear up to the elections, and we generally know when we're in this space, media becomes such a vital tool looking at this space as we gear up towards the general elections. And we have citizen journalism, we have young graduates who go on their online platform and start doing things their own way, and sometimes they end up reporting fake news. As we gear up to this season and space that we're going in as a country, what will be your message, and even as MCK rather, in terms of preparation and also ensuring that the journalists are not sensationalizing people, but actually reporting facts to avoid fake news at the end of the day?
Two things. I'm very careful about what space we operate.
Yes.
We take care of media and journalists. The other telecommunication gadget users who want to go and rant on Facebook and Twitter, they will be managed from a different set. Otherwise, we will lose ourselves. So we are, this week on Thursday, inaugurating the special task force to review election reporting guidelines this Thursday, and they will have work cut out within 30 days so that we know how the media, licensed media, can operate. Because, if you want to go to the streets, anybody can give you gossip, but media must speak the truth. So election reporting guidelines, guidelines on advertising elections and making sure you are balanced and all that. We will also be issuing guidelines about the media workers who intend to vie for election and who we think are abusing the spaces they occupy and all that. We'll be issuing the guidelines, because now it's our work is to set media standards. So within the media space, that space is protected. We will issue guidelines and we will ensure their compliance. About wale watu wengine, now that we leave to NCIC and Interior, because it's computer misuse and cyber crimes and all that. But within the MCK Act and the Code of Ethics and regulations of advertising in media, election reporting and all that, that space we will we are in charge. And from Thursday we inaugurate the task force. The election guidelines will be out, and the general guidelines about what the media can and cannot do during the campaigns and elections. We will be able to do that.
All right. And also just looking at what you can do as the MCK in terms of even protecting journalists during this space. We have, from past events, we have seen a lot of harassment and violence against journalists during this space, and even other times as a country. As MCK, what are some of those protective measures that you can urge journalists to take on to be the first line of defense, and also as the agency that accredits us and allows us to practice, what can you do in terms of stepping in to assist in the situation?
A lot. I would not say your safety begins with you, but it's a lot. We already do that. We have branding merchandise so that journalists are clearly visible, because in a few cases
can be identified from far.
Yes, like in the case where we had Captain Bonakuru, people said they did not know the journalists. It was just a crowd versus a crowd. So number one, we have the reflective jackets. We want them to be to every media house. Nowadays our tags are very clearly visible. Number two, we work with the police. We follow up. You may be aware that we follow every case of assault against a journalist. We follow up. We have no complaint against on attacks against journalists that we ignore. We follow each of them. Number three, we are working around. Last week we were in Eldoret opening a media hub. We are hoping to open up to 5 of them before elections, because journalists working out of Nairobi sometimes have no space to work from, because with Corona, media houses close their regional offices. We want to create hubs across the country. It's a safe space for journalists. You go out, get your story, go in, you have your 20 computers, broadband, internet, and you work from that. So very basically, and of course ensuring training and monitoring. We are meeting the media owners later this week or very early next week to agree, because it is, we will do apart from this end, the media house must provide the space and all that. So we have the dressing, clear visibility, partnership with security forces. We actually have a focal point on media and safety of journalists at the National Police Service. We follow up on all cases. Even when cases are stuck in court, we follow up with DPP and all that, so that we do that. And now, as I said, they're creating the hubs, so that journalists can work from safe spaces, so that they're not filing stories from cyber cafes or restaurants and all that. Yes.
Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, there's Gibson on Twitter who's saying, this is such a great conversation, and especially on the idea of facilitating attaches. The whole challenge, however, is in the modalities of picking the few who will benefit from the sponsorship. In terms of just reassuring our viewers that the 20 that you pick to choose to sponsor rather, how will this be done to ensure there's fairness and equality for all?
Simple. People want to apply for internship in different media houses, which we already agree with. So you apply from a recognized college or university to KBC, for example. KBC has a model for picking. Of course, we know you out of 200 applicants, you can take 20. So when KBC is sitting to interview or choose, there will be an MCK Academy representative. You agree, and we say we will take the top 5 or the top 10 onto our program. The truth is that the need is much higher than we can respond to. But it will be simple, transparent. You want to go to Radio Amani in Kitale, and they want to take 5 people. We have an agreement with them. We will take 5 people. So we see that you applied, meeting the requirements of the college and the institution, and we put you on our program. It is, as I said, it's a simple. There are not too many layers of bureaucracy and all that. You are from a college, you have a letter for attachment, we recognize the college, and the media house, we're already working with it. Then so we trust, so it's a simple matter. We will not have one big hub for recruiting people. No, there is the power of the media house, the selection process, because the media house says we can take 5, because then we can supervise them, we can train them, and we can oversee them.
To ensure quality of what is going to be.
Then it's within an agreement we already have, that you take 5, load them on us, so immediately we put them on our program. There will be this assessment form that we'll do monthly and all that. Wakimaliza wanatoka, wengine wanakuja and all that. That goes on and on.
All right.
Yeah.
So when will all this be available to the attaches who are hoping to be part of this?
This week, latest next week, because we want to take first cohorts from September.
Okay.
I mean, so we are ready to move. We've gotten all the approvals, so there's no other layers, as I said, no layers of bureaucracy around. The information will be out later this week, perhaps by tomorrow we'll announce how people can apply, and then from next week people will start working, and then they will know it's the media houses say we are taking this under this program, and life goes on.
Fantastic. Yes. Now, as we close this conversation, maybe just your message to the institutions, all the people in the value chain. We have the institutions, we have the media houses and production houses, as well as those that are in the emerging trends space, in terms of coming together and working for the same goal.
Number one, the institutions, let us be fair so that we offer quality to young Kenyans who want to aspire and all that. Let's not just cobble up courses that are not adding quality to the people's lives. The institutions, media houses, I know that there has been a challenge because of fear of corona and a few matters, that the training programs almost ended. Please restart them again, because the moment the media houses are not taking people, we are not allowing young people to graduate. Please start it, and the Media Council will partner and support any willing media house and institution to restart the training department, supervision, in-house academies and all that. And the individual journalists, you know that the conduct of one journalist is reflective on the entire industry and profession. Make sure that you protect the integrity of the profession. So if you have one journalist misbehaving, then people develop an attitude that these are to be as a journalist and all that. So everybody has a role to play.
Yes.
But and the Media Council will do our work from facilitating the training institutions, facilitating media houses to do their job, and the individual journalists to proceed. We hope that as the attachment proceeds, then we have an internship. We'll be allowing young people to go in, interact, and create space, and either remain in the media house or go out and get into private practice within the media, having understood the psychology and the workings of the media house.
Fantastic. We have been speaking with David Omoyo. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Media Council of Kenya. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Karibu.
All right. That brings us to the end of Good Morning Kenya. We appreciate that you have been with us through and through. We welcome you to join us again tomorrow morning right here on KBC Channel 1 for another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. My name is June Boy. Do have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Another exciting edition of Cover Girl Looks with me, Christine Korea. In today's edition, we're taking ordinary women and transforming them into cover girl looks. My team and I selected different women from different walks of life, different age groups, and different body shapes. We had women in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Carol is a student and she wanted that exquisite look for date night with the girls. And I think we gave her just that.
Hi, my name is Carol. I'm here to see Christine for a makeover. I could really use it because I need to feel more mature and sexy because I come across as shy and naive.
Is in her 50s and she's in need of that classy, timeless look.
Hi, my name is Esther Kuria. I'm looking forward for Christine to pamper my face and look beautiful. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Women in their 50s and above, I hope you're watching because this one is for you. You might get 1 or 2 tips from this transformation.
The 2016 Paralympic Games in Rio, where Kenya won 3 gold medals, a silver and 2 bronze medals, to inspire John Lokedi to book his ticket to Tokyo, where he hopes to better that performance.
Michezo nilianzia mwaka huu, nilianzia mwaka jana kule Morocco. Corona ikaribu kila kitu, tukarudi nyumbani. Hadi mwaka huu michezo ikafunguliwa, tukajiandaa tena, tukaenda qualifying ya kujiprepare kwenda Tokyo na tumefanya mzuri kwa hiyo qualification. Hadi saa hizi tunaona si mbaya kwa mazoezi, tunaweza enda kule Tokyo tulete medali. Tumejiprepare sana kwenda kukombina wenzetu kule Tokyo na tumejiandaa mzuri sana.
The 5,000 meters and 1,500 meters T13 athlete has competed in various international meets before his debut in Tokyo.
Kuna coaches wale wamewahi kuimbia kitambo na amekuwa coaches wamekuwa na experience, akatufunza. Kuna michezo ya walio changamoto ya macho, hili nikakuja nikajiprepare nikafanya mazoezi, nikakuja hasa kukombina na wenzangu, nikaona hii talenta yangu ni mzuri sana, nikajijua sasa kumbe niko nayo talent ndio nikaendelea kufanya mazoezi. Performance tulikuwa siku ya Morocco 2020 ilikuwa position 1 kwa 5000 na tukarudi kule Dubai mwezi wa Januari nikakuwa position 2. Tukarudi Tunisia mwezi wa 3 nikakuwa position 1. Nilifanya mzuri sana. Naona kwa mazoezi yangu si mbaya vile.
The visually impaired athlete has been training at Karura and Kasarani with his compatriots, all determined to make sure they make their nation proud when they get to their marks at the National Stadium in Tokyo.
Itakuwa mara ya kwanza kuingia kwa international, lakini kwa hali sikuweza kuparticipate vile kwenda kuelekea kukompiti na wenzangu kwa sababu kuwa na sijamake kwa hii timu ya kwenda Olympic. La mimi ni train partner kwa wenzangu wenye qualify kule kuelekea kule Olimpiki, lakini hawa nimeona ni watu wazuri sana, wamefanya mazoezi ya kutosha. Naona anaweza enda kutuletea medali.
Princess Chen, I know you are a good doctor, but can you do better than your father? Perhaps your father purposely didn't cure him and only wasted time.
Your Highness, I'm Thunder, an Imperial spy. We're here to kill Prince Chen, as His Majesty ordered. Everybody stay alert. There are traps everywhere in here. Be careful.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Your daddy died, sweetie.
No, my daddy is not dead, Mommy. Please tell me he isn't dead.
Sweetheart, believe me,